ID 057088.
The sports station with balls. And strikes. We also have strikes. WFSX AM from Naples to Cape Coral and all of Southwest Florida. We are Fox Sports.
You're live. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton. It's a hump day edition, and it is March 32nd because April has declined its option.
No doubt. April is practicing social distancing, and it wants to stay as far away from March as humanly possible. 6 feet, not enough.
It is pulling rank on May and looking behind it and saying, you're next if you want it. The option will be yours in due time.
Interesting year. It's a leap year. We had February 29th. Now we welcome you to March 32nd.
Hello. Miller and Moulton on this fine Wednesday. Hope you're all hanging in there. It was 3 weeks ago tonight that the NBA suspended its season, and we all know what has happened since. How long ago does that feel to all of you? 479-5551 is the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. Chime into the show at 479-5551. For whatever is on your mind. How are you this fine morning?
I'm good. I get to eat whatever I want today. So from that standpoint, I am particularly happy. I'm in a weird spot, though, because I've done pretty well with this shape-up thing. And I've dropped 22 pounds. So while there is a box of Thin Mints in the freezer with my name on them,
right,
there will be a guilt factor that will come in because I'm proud of what I did. Like I'm happy that I'm 184 pounds this morning. I would love to get into the 170s, and seeing it that close, blowing it with a box of Thin Mints is the dilemma I will face up until I eat them sometime around noon today.
Are Thin Mints like a Lay's potato chip where you really can't just have a handful, if you know what I mean? That once you start, well, Katie barred the door.
All right, first off, you're asking that as if you've never had a Thin Mint.
No, I'm asking for you.
Oh, David, there are two sleeves of a Thin Mint. At
Correct.
the very, very least, and I mean the very least, one sleeve is destroyed.
I completely agree.
And then it's like, I love ice cream. It's like the pint of Ben & Jerry's. And Denzel Washington one time was on, I think it's actually when Denzel and Rickles were on Letterman. And Denzel was talking about the Ben & Jerry's. And he said, it's like when you're eating that Ben & Jerry's and you make the mistake of flipping it over to the soft side. because at that moment, you know the pint's gone. And I happen to be watching on the couch, and I'm like, Denzel, you and I are kindred spirits. I know exactly what you're talking about. So much so that interview is 10 years old, and I remember it like it was yesterday. It is the same way with the Thin Mints, because when I get through the first sleeve, I'm just sitting there thinking about the other sleeve that I've left in the freezer. Now, there's a two-part question, a two-part thing of this. Because one, sometimes if they're out, they warm enough that I don't want them. If I leave them in the freezer...
Oh, what?
Oh, no. I like my Thin Mint crispy ice cold. I get one box a year, and it's got to be perfect, David.
No, I don't. I actually take them out and let them thaw a little bit.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't want them ice cold, and I don't want them that hard. No. You soften them up a little bit. All right, it's kind of like the pint of ice cream. I just want to let it sit out. I want that first spoon to not have to be so much work. I want to dive right in. It's kind of like the pizza. All right, I let it sit for a minute, just for a minute. It sits right there. I just, and then I go at it hard.
Is that because of so many incidents in your life where you've burnt your mouth?
Absolutely. When I was a kid, I just went right to it, bang, and it's like let it breathe. I'm not a wine drinker, but I do it with food. I just let it breathe.
I'm not a wine drinker, but I do it with food. That's David Moulton, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep, 90 seconds. Let it breathe. Yeah, that's all. That's all. Sometimes things need to cool down just a touch. Sometimes things need to soften just a touch.
So it's do I keep on keeping on, or is it Thin Mints for breakfast and Grandpa's Pizza for dinner? I don't even know if Grandpa's is open, but I'm hoping. I drove by the other day, and they didn't look open at lunch, but I started thinking, I'm like, well, he does a lot of business for people who work. So maybe he shut his doors and opens at 4 for dinner, because I can't imagine. Of all businesses right now, everybody's suffering. I get it. I would guess, and I could be dead wrong, that the pizza industry would be the one that would be as
robust,
consistent as it always has been.
Because much of it is delivery.
Right. Takeout and delivery. That's the whole
takeout.
basis of their existence. So that's all.
Well, here, not to belabor this point, because there are other things really to discuss today besides
pizza, ice cream, and Thin Mints?
And your weight. But, here's my thought. You can always eat. So why don't you put it off for as long as possible? Since you're so close to a goal, go for it. Just a little longer. Because you can always demolish the Thin Mints and the pie.
You're right.
Always.
You're right, David.
So just continue to put it off, and then once you get to 179.8, just go nuts. Take a picture, and then go nuts.
Fair enough. I'm a little surprised that you are that sane about this. I'm impressed.
Well, I wouldn't do it.
This is a do it. This is a do as I say, not as I do. Oh,
right.
Thanks,
That's
Dad.
all. Just giving advice. Yeah.
Well done.
You can say, no, I'm good. 184 is close enough, and you can go to town. Hey, I'll support you. I got your back either way.
You know what, David? I know you do. And I know that is a 100% completely sincere statement. Others may not think it. They may think that that's dripping in sarcasm. It's not. It's one of the few times that David's serious. You want to diet?
I'm that guy.
You want to eat? I'm right there for you.
I'm that guy. I'm that friend. We're out at the bar, and you've sworn off drinking for a little bit, and then all of a sudden you look around and you go, man, that tall mug, that looks good. You know what? I'm going to have one. I'm good. Yeah, I'll put my arm around you. Absolutely. Hey, I got your back. Either way, don't you worry about it. I'll even take up your cause with the wife if need be. Put me front and center. You just keep drinking behind me. I'll argue your point. Don't you worry. 479-5551, 479-5551. Normally we stick to sports, especially with our poll questions. But today we're going to, just try to lighten the mood a little bit on this March 32nd. And, so you see where we're going here.
Right.
April's like, no, I declined my option this year in 2020. I have not. You know what? April is kind of like Tom Brady. I've been going along with this whole plan, I mean, it's kind of like Brady went along with the Patriot way for 20 years. April's been going along with the calendar for a very long time. Brady made sure that he reached unrestricted free agency. He needed a change. April, we think, has declined their calendar option.
David, I know you're a historian and you like the theater. And there's a line about the Ides of March. And there's also, a phrase that says, March comes in like a lion and out like a lamb. This ain't no lamb, David.
No.
This ain't no lamb.
No. These are
no, this is a lion that went
times.
This is a lion that went to Tiger King for those that are on Netflix.
I have yet to do that.
Watched the first one last night. Wife and I watched the first one.
See, that's where you'd be surprised. That's where I have the discipline in my life. I can stay away from the trendy TV show.
Oh, I can too, but that one had me. Like, this has too many people that I know that are so completely different. All had varying opinions. I don't know if anybody ever said it was great. What they said was, you're not going to be able to keep your eyes off it. And after one episode, I can truly tell you, I have no idea where this is going, but I can't wait to watch the next episode.
Okay. All right. I have no interest right now. Don't know why. I like Tigers. All right. You would think the name alone would, and, who doesn't want to be a king? But I have no interest. And maybe it's because everybody on Twitter is going nuts about it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll get caught up on the other
Right.
stuff.
I mean, everybody on Twitter goes nuts about The Bachelor, too. And I've never watched a second of that show. Like, ever.
Right.
And I have no interest ever. But the Netflix, give me an hour. I thought I'd put one in, and it wasn't bad. It has enough for me to watch it again. There's enough crazy in there that I can watch it again. Well, crazy's kind of a
people. I'm sorry, Mark. I just want, with a lot of people binge watching Tiger King, just want to promote our binge TV watching brackets. FoxSportsFM.com, FoxSportsFM.com. Tiger King not making the survey, a little too recent.
Hell, I don't even think it was out when we started this thing.
No. So our binge TV watching brackets at FoxSportsFM.com are out. Presented by Brooks Gourmet Burgers, Jimmy P's Chard, France Eye Care, and Kobe Cooling.
But we have one thing David and I said that we need. When this all started and it appeared that David and I were going to go to our own homes and do the show, it's like, all right, there's no sports.
Our respective corners.
What are we going to do? And I joked and said brackets. When we finish this one, I'll give you another one. But David and I both agreed, hey, we got to get a poll question up. We are remiss so many times and forget on days, and it's on us. So that's not the case anymore. We have been able to get our poll questions up and get them up early. Today, we even had it done before the show started, 2 days in a row. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, really.
But it has to do with the old COVID-19. What COVID-19 phrase annoys you the most? New normal, social distancing, fluid situation.
I went with new normal.
Yeah, me too. I hate new normal. This is not the new normal. This is the abnormal. There's nothing new. There's nothing normal about this.
No. And also hoping this is the aberration. The new normal is this is our way of life from this point forward. Well, it's our way of life for hopefully just a short period of time in the grand scheme of things. But yesterday was a sobering day. Have never had a press conference like that in the history of our nation. Not for an illness. All right, that is for sure. So we've got tough times ahead. And we're glad to be here as a part of it, as hopefully a distraction. And use us, quite frankly. Call in, text in, 479-5551, 479-5551. We're here talking what sports there is, and also, just trying to be a part of the Southwest Florida community, as we have been here for a little while over 2 acts. if you were the Bengals, is there any offer the Dolphins could make? Because, Mark, they got parts, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
They've
David.
got resources.
David, there really is. I mean, I'd be greedy. I'd start with everything.
Well, what's everything?
All 3 ones in your 2.
Okay.
I mean,
Done. No, but that's the thing, though. Is that what it would take? Or are you saying that's the start?
David, I have to be honest. You want to come get Burrow, and you're going to give me 3 ones and a 2? I'm going to look at that offer pretty damn hard. Do you think that's enough? I think it is.
Yeah, I think it is too. First off, if you're as Pat pointed out a couple of weeks ago, when the first whispers of, the Dolphins are pretty enamored with Burrow, and Burrow seems a little interested in them too. He keeps liking certain things. They make a signing, Burrow likes it. Things like that. There was a tweet out there about the Dolphins and Burrow liked it. So it's almost as if Burrow is like sending signals like, hey, if you want to come for me, I'm fine with that. I got no problems playing for you.
I do think what Pat talked about, if I'm Cincinnati, I can't make the deal until Miami picks. My quarterback, if it's Herbert, has to be there at 5. I would draft Burrow and say, look I'll trade him, but I can't trade him until I know. I make the trade the minute Herbert's available after the 4th pick. It's done. We walk it in and we make that trade. I cannot go down to 5 and take the chance that I don't get anybody.
Well, and here's the funny thing then. Let's just play along, in which we've got a deal worked out if the Dolphins can get their hands on Herbert. Because the Bengals had Herbert at the Senior Bowl. The Bengals and the Lions, I believe, were the 2 coaching staffs at the Senior Bowl. How ironic is that at 1 and 3? And so the Bengals were the ones, though, that worked with Herbert.
Well, I think the Raiders were there last year, right? 2 years ago.
I believe so.
Yeah, that's right. I don't think you can go.
Year, I thought. And they had the 3 ones last year also. They kept them all, as it turned out, and had a really good draft. But so if the Bengals are like, hey, we got no problems turning this thing over to Justin Herbert, no problems at all. So if you want to give us 3 ones and a 2, you get your hands on Herbert at 5. And if you're the Dolphins, can you take the chance and stay at 5? I mean, if you're all in on Burrow, don't you at least, like the Giants traded away their 3rd-round pick in what looks like an ill-fated deal for defensive tackle Leonard Williams. Now, they have a compensatory 3rd, but that's at the very end of the round. The Giants traded away their early 3rd-round pick. If you're the Dolphins, if you're all in on Burrow, and let's just say, Mark, the price tag is what you said it is. It's basically your whole 1st and 2nd round this year. Your 3 ones and a 2. Okay. You may, if you're the Dolphins, also have to give up your 3rd to move up to 4 to guarantee that you get your hands on Herbert. So it could end up being 3 ones, a 2, and a 3 even, to get your hands on Herbert so that you could send Herbert to Cincinnati and you could get your hands on Joe Burrow. But even if it's just 3 ones and a 2, if you're the Bengals, see, this is the danger, Mark. Okay, you say, well, it's going to take 3 ones and a 2. And when they say, okay, that's a deal. Now, you can come back and him and haw and what have you, and the Dolphins go, hey, come on now. We sat down. We said, what's it going to take? Well, you said 3 ones and a 2, and we said, got it.
That's why I would, and as the more you've talked this out, David, I would probably be a little more outlandish and say, I want your 3 ones, your 2, and your 1 next year. At least giving them something that they've got to counter with. Knowing that what I want is the 3 ones and the 2. I'm not as worried. I mean, if you said yes, great.
Okay, so we have a deal, though. We're going to end up with a deal at 3 ones and a 2. If you're Cincinnati, are you comfortable with that? I'm making you Cincinnati.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not. 1, I'm not a Herbert guy. Two, Joe Burrow's from Ohio. My whole fan base, which hasn't been excited for 2 or 3 years, is excited about getting Joe Burrow. And I'm secretly trying to get a stadium built. Our lease is up in 7 years. I want a new stadium. I don't think I can get it with Justin Herbert. I think I can get it with Joe Burrow.
Now, David, you asked me what the deal I would do. Now,
Right.
I wouldn't trade the first overall pick. I'm just telling you what I think they would ask, is that they are the ones enamored with Herbert. I'm not either, David, for what it's worth. You watch a little more closely. I'll take your word on quarterbacks. You've had a pretty good track record on this. But the games I watched him play, we talked about it during the season. There was nothing this guy did that made me ooh and ah when he played against good teams. But the fact remains that it seems that the Bengals are very enamored with this young man.
Exactly.
So would I do it? Hell no. Joe Burrow's, what you said, he's from Ohio. You put that kid on your roster and you sell tickets. I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just sold out their whole season in an hour and a half. Without having to go sign a big-time free agent, the Bengals can do it by just putting a card to the desk. Or however they're going to do it this year.
Right. Click of a mouse, whatever it is. But now, then there's the other side. If you're the Dolphins, would you give that up?
I don't think they can.
Now, see, I would for this reason. It's the one position you've got to get right. Evidence, the Chicago Bears.
Oh, you're right.
Sorry. There it is. You get it wrong, it doesn't matter everything else you do. It doesn't. Doesn't matter your signings, doesn't matter how well you draft, the whole deal. If you are convinced he's the guy, because look at it this way, Mark. How many times when you're a general manager, and let's assume you've got the gig for 10 years, how many times in 10 years will you be in position to get the quarterback that you want? The guy. Matt Miller of NFL Draft Scout said Joe Burrow's the highest rated quarterback coming out of the draft since Andrew Luck. Now, whether he is or not, to him, he is. And you know how I felt about Andrew Luck. So if you're Chris Greer, if he's the guy, Ernie Accorsi famously said he was in position to draft Elway, and his owner basically said, yeah, this isn't going to work out, this, that, and the other thing, and he was forced to trade John Elway. Technically, he drafted him, but it wasn't going to work between the two teams. So then 21 years later, he's sitting at number 4, and he wants Eli Manning desperately. And he's like, I got to trade up to get him. I waited 21 years to be in position to get the guy that I want. And if you're Chris Greer, this is your draft. This is the draft for you to get your hands on your quarterback, because if you don't in this draft, when will you conceivably be close enough again? You're thinking that your losing is about to stop. So you're going to start drafting in the 10s and the teens and all that. So in theory, this is the last time you're in the top 5 if you're Chris Greer.
David, I hear everything you're saying. And maybe it's just time from the season to now, and that is a very dangerous thing when you start picking at quarterbacks. And Joe Burrow's year was like one we've never seen. It's the only one. It is a very small sample size. And how many receivers that he threw to are going in the first round?
Well, put it this way. Two wideouts, a tight end, and a running back are likely all drafted in the top 50.
Right.
No, he had some talent around him.
And the coach who's in the NFL, the coach did so well, he's in the NFL.
Well, he came from the NFL,
right,
and now he's back.
Yeah,
in the
he came
NFL.
in the NFL. He took this quarterback, looked at the system, looked at the receivers, and said, we're going to implement this, and you're going to be great.
Right.
And he was. we were tanking for Tua at the beginning of the year.
Right.
And if I'm the Miami Dolphins, I'm still going to 3 to get Tua.
Okay. So you're not giving up all of your ones and or a second or third round pick to move all the way up to 1 and getting Burrow, but you're willing to give up one of those ones
to get Tua.
To move up to get Tua. Okay. And here's my thing. I'm a Tua guy. But if Chris Greer's a Joe Burrow guy, there's nothing he can give up that I would criticize him for. Nothing.
But you're asking me what out of the two I would do. I'm going with Tua. I am.
Okay. Fair enough. We bring it up because the whispers that have been out there apparently are a little bit more than that. And we will talk about it a little bit later on in the show. Dave Hyde will join us to talk about the Dolphins and just how real does he believe that this is, that the Dolphins wanting to make a big play to move up to 1 to get their hands on Joe Burrow. The NFL draft, by the way, 3 weeks from tomorrow. 3 weeks from tomorrow, which would make it March 54th.
And which will be 6 weeks to the day that we have ended everything.
Well, yes.
Because the game was played tonight. The NBA game, they canceled it, or they found out tonight, canceled it during.
A few of the games got canceled. A couple got played.
Right. But by the end of the night, the NBA had canceled the rest of or had suspended their season. By the time tomorrow had come, all hell had broken loose. So it will be 42 days between sports and the draft.
Right. Wow. Or as we call it, March 54th. That's when the draft is taking place, March 54th through 56th.
At Studio 54, sorry.
April has opted out. We talk about free agents who opt out of their contract. April is Everson Griffin. They had a good enough 2019 that they have opted out of their 2020 contract. On this Wednesday, March 32nd, or for some of you, April 1st. And can you really play an April Fool's joke this year?
Yeah, David, I still may go wake my daughter up and tell her to run into her mom's room and tell her that she wet the bed and get mom to jump up and frantically come up and yell April Fools. It's about all I got right now.
I'll tell you what, if you pull an April Fool's joke today, one, if you're close enough to someone to pull an April Fool's joke today, that in and of itself is a good thing. And secondly, see, to me, you're going to get a big reaction today. You're going to get it both ways, but you're going to get a big reaction if you can pull one off on this day. A hump day edition of Miller and Moulton. The starting five is next. Thanks so much for waking up with us. Miller and Moulton on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
The coronavirus has changed our lives.
COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
Who would have ever thought we'd see a day when sports would stop?
It's not about your brackets or who's going to win March Madness. It's sort of about getting through this.
Fox Sports Radio will continue to keep you informed on all the latest coronavirus information through our partners at Wink News.
The number of cases of coronavirus in the state.
And for the latest in our ever-changing sports world.
It looks as if the Olympics are going to be postponed.
Count on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Do your next home improvement project right by shopping Lowe's for deals throughout the store. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's.
King Roofing's long-standing reputation gives you the peace of mind that they'll be here if and when a warranty repair is needed. There are some great roofing companies in Naples, but there are also storm chasers. They set up shop after a storm and they leave a few years later when the leads dry up, leaving homeowners in a bind when there's a warranty issue. Stay local and call King Roofing today.
License number CCC 057279.
Every castle deserves a king.
You should be driving a Kia from Galliana Kia.
We're here
here, we're open, and we're on a mission to make a difference at Galliana Kia in Fort Myers. Our service and parts departments are open for business. Now's a great time to bring your vehicle in for service. And right now, you can buy a new Galliana Kia with 0% financing for 72 months. Plus, no payments for 120 days. 2020 Kia Soul or 2020 Kia Forte. Lease for just $99 per month. That's right, a new Kia Soul or Forte for $99 per month. Want to sell or trade your car fast? Go to GallianaKia.com and submit a trade valuation request. In minutes, we'll make you an offer to buy your car, even if you don't buy a car from us. And we'll come pick it up.
You should be driving a Kia from Galliana. Galliana Kia.
We're here, we're open, and we're on a mission to make a difference at Galliana Kia, 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. GallianaKia.com. 24-month lease is 10,000 miles per year, $44.99 to it. Signing plus tax and tag. No security deposit. Subject to lender approval. Offers don't combine. Expires month end.
Listen to the Dan Patrick Show at work.
Never boring, that's for sure.
Streaming 24/7 at FoxSportsFM.com. We are Fox Sports.
We're on the phone with our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples. TJ, we hear you've added several new colors of Core-Tec to your great lineup of products at the store. Tell us more about that.
We just ordered 5 new colors of Core-Tec for our stock. All nice, light, beautiful colors for Southwest Florida. That'll bring our total of 55 colors of Core-Tec in stock every day for purchase and take home.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tec that you have. You also have other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec Stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Core-Tec wood, look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Why would someone take a chance on purchasing a frameless shower door from a big box store or an online discounter of an obscure brand, and then try and find a licensed, qualified installer to put it in, when you can deal directly with a local, family-owned business that consults, measures, manufactures, and installs their own award-winning brand of shower doors? My Shower Door is a family-owned and operated business and has the highest ratings on Angie's List and Home Advisor. Want to see more? Go to myShowerDoor.com.
Even in my 80s, every dive is exciting and enjoyable. When I developed cataracts years ago, I couldn't see well underwater. You can have the best gear and know the best dive spots. If your eyes aren't the best, it's just not the same. And Dr. Scheibo knows that.
Knowing how much Jimbo cares about diving, it was a privilege to fix his vision.
It's great to know that we got eye doctors in our area that care just as much about me as I care about being in the water.
Hi, this is Dr. Scheibel from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spatafor, and I want to remind everybody, don't be a spreader. The coronavirus is so tiny, 100 million particles fit on the head of a pin. As we run around in our trucks and cars and play golf and go fishing and go to work and do the things we like to do, we are spreading the virus. The virus can only move with us. Over 65, diabetes, COPD, all these folks will be hurt severely by this virus. Wash your hands, be careful, don't be a spreader.
Here we go! Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
.633, 27 minutes before 7 o'clock on this Wednesday morning. Many will refer to it as April 1st. We believe that April has declined its option this year and that it is March 32nd. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com. There are many places that you can get this show. We encourage you to sign up for and watch via the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channel.
I'm hoping it's a little better today. I've tried to drop some rates. With the number of people on the internet, Twitch is having a hell of a time. YouTube's having a hell of a time. We're trying to work through it. We apologize for any technical difficulties. And hopefully
it's actually not on our end this time.
No, I've done everything I'm supposed to do to get us where we need to be, and it's not on our end according to the folks that I am talking to. By the way, it did rain a little bit overnight. It looks like it's about to rain a little bit in Collier County right now, according to my friend Matt. According to my friend Matt, he said it's about to rain in Collier County, so just a little warning.
by your friend Matt, all right? Like my wife refers to all these people as her friend, and it took me a little while for me to realize it's because she has friended them on Facebook.
Yeah, I don't do
So
that.
she calls them her friends.
Yeah, no.
My wife doesn't have any friends.
Right, I'm being really sarcastic. Matt Devitt answered a text once and then blew us off on the show, gave us like the number 3 guy, and we've never heard from him again.
Well, come on now. It was a hurricane.
So?
He was a little busy.
So he's the A
All
guy.
right.
We're
Right.
supposedly the A team. There's no other show. We're the A team here.
Well, there are a few other shows in the building. And in the building,
we're
not even the
We're
B
not even
team.
we used to be the redheaded stepchild. We're not even that anymore.
No, we'd have to take out a loan to be the redheaded stepchild. Right. Yeah. So with that,
Speaking of things that aren't sponsored, it's time for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton's Starting Five. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
I know funny. That's funny. The NFL voted to expand the playoffs. They made it official yesterday. 7 teams will make the playoffs effective immediately in each conference. Only the 1 seed will get a bye. 2 will play 7, 3 will play 6, and 4 will play 5. That means 2 extra playoff games of Wild Card Weekend. Are you ready for triple headers Saturday and Sunday? The first weekend of the NFL playoffs, triple headers. They've already determined, at least year 1, which networks are getting what games. And did you catch this? CBS and NBC are the ones year 1 that are going to get the extra playoff games.
Right.
But they are also
this
they're gonna have
is big
sister
to me.
Stations.
This is David, I'm sorry. I thought this was the biggest news I heard out of this yesterday. I went for my little stroll listening to Pat and Jim when they did their update, and they brought this on, and they're putting the game on Nickelodeon.
CBS is partnering up with Nickelodeon, the NFL strategically trying to get their product in front of a younger audience. We have talked about this. For all that is going right with the NFL, and also, I mean, let's be honest. You know, the NFL caught a huge break here. What's the one sport that's not playing games this time of year when the first pandemic in over a century is shutting down the world? Yeah, it's the National Football League. And they, however, are struggling to reach those under 30. The people under 30 in this country have turned away from the NFL in noticeable numbers. And so the NFL reaching out. CBS will partner with Nickelodeon. NBC, I think, is partnering with either Telemundo or Univision. There's a couple of channels that the NBC owns, and that the game will also be simulcast on those stations. But CBS partnering with Nickelodeon.
I think I'm very interested in what they do for a broadcast, because it's a separate broadcast geared towards a younger audience. I want to see how they pull this off. I'm very curious what they'll do in the weeks leading up to the game from a promotional standpoint. I guess this hits me more because, David, as you know, I'm a big Nickelodeon fan this time, right around now.
Right.
I know all the shows. I don't know, early on if Paw Patrol is going to have any thoughts in this. Where are we going to go? Is this Puppy Dog Pals? I mean, who gets the coin toss from the Nickelodeon crew?
Well, how young are you going to go? Also, if you know what I mean. How young do you go here?
Right.
with the
I was a
bucket?
little more Nick Jr. there than I was Nick. You're right.
So there you have it. But the NFL made it official yesterday, expanding the playoffs. That begins immediately. The 17th game is a year away. The NFL also, when asked, said, yeah, we're planning to start the season on time. They did, however, say they are pushing back the schedule reveal. Normally, they release the schedule about a week before the draft. This year, they said we will release it within a couple of weeks after the draft. So they're planning to start the season on time, but they are holding on to the schedule for a little bit longer. The Browns yesterday signed 31-year-old defensive end Adrian Claiborne to a 2-year deal. It's not for a lot of money. I love this signing, Mark. I mean, I don't think he's got a ton left in the tank. He was a situational pass rusher for the Falcons last year. He played for the Patriots the year before that. You know, he got 4 sacks for Atlanta, coming in on third downs and, you know, other statistics. He's a serviceable rotation defensive lineman. But the key part of this signing to me is 31 years old. He's an adult. He's a leader. He's been respected in the Patriots locker room and the Falcons locker room. What were the Browns last year and for the last few years?
Immature. And you know, it's the one thing about the coach that they hired last year and why it went south in most people's opinions is that they had no adults there, period.
Not a surprise. TB12 will remain TB12 in Tampa Bay as Chris Godwin gave up his number 12 to Tom Brady. I don't know what number he's going to be.
14.
I don't know what. Oh, really?
Yes.
Cool. I don't know what the compensation was.
0.
Wow. What is wrong with him? You got to get something there. I mean,
I think he got something, David.
Picture.
Sorry, I think he got something. I think they put it out that he did nothing. There's no way in hell that Godwin got nothing. He might have got a TB12 franchise for all we know. All I know is that they're making this very kumbaya, and Godwin just gave Tom the jersey, and he's going to 14. But that's the report.
You got to get something out of this.
Thank you.
I mean, even if it's signed pictures or something. A couple of commits to your charity that you're doing, but all right. And the one other football note is that the whispers became at least grumbles yesterday that the Dolphins are really interested in moving up from 5-1 and getting their hands on Joe Burrow. We'll discuss it with Dave Hyde of the Sun Sentinel in a little less than an hour's time. Did you see this note out of college football yesterday? You know, you can still get kids to commit to you. I mean, you can recruit over the phone. You can Skype. You can email. Mike Leach got himself a quarterback. Now he's going to have to wait a year, but apparently one of the top recruits in the class of 2021 is a 6'3" quarterback out of Lubbock, Texas. You know, the home of Texas Tech. You know, where Mike Leach was a fairly successful coach, and they haven't had a whole ton of success since they booted him unceremoniously about 10 years ago. Sawyer Robertson is the kid's name. He committed to go play for the Bulldogs of Mississippi State. Mark, one day we really will have college football again. And I don't know how much that Lane and Leach are going to win in the state of Mississippi, because let's face it, everybody around them outside of Arkansas has got their act together, and that makes winning really hard. But they're going to be fun. And if you can't win, you need to be fun.
You're darn right, David. There was when forwarded emails, I think, kind of first started, there was this neat, for lack of a better term, story about the SEC and comparing everybody to countries. And, you know, I think Alabama was England or whatever it was, but the one I remember the most was Ole Miss and Mississippi State. They're Ireland and Northern Ireland. They don't really like each other. They beat the you-know-what out of one another, and no one pays any attention. We're going to pay a little more attention, and David, they may have a bunch of 6-6, 7-5, 8-4 years, but every one of those years, one of those 6, 7, or 8 wins by both of those old Mississippi schools are going to be against somebody worthy. They're going to have their fair share of upsets against Bama and LSU and crossovers. You can almost guarantee it. Leach always has, and Lane can coach.
Phil, Tiger, apparently they're trying to team up with Peyton and TB12 and do a little golf. Don't know if it'll be pay-per-view. Don't know if it'll be network television. I got to admit this time, I'd just do it on network TV.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'd put it up for the highest bidder, and my guess is you'd get a pretty good offer. But I would just, instead of, because they had some problems last time with the pay-per-view. So many people signed up, and it crashed, and eventually it had to be offered for free on BR. And so, but apparently Tiger and Phil are trying to put a match together with Peyton and Tom Brady. Don't know who will team up with who. But apparently that is in the works. Frank Maloney coached Syracuse football in the late 60s into the 70s. It was after the Jim Brown, Floyd Little heyday. Frank Maloney died yesterday at the age of 79. Joe Scott coached Air Force basketball in the early 2000s, and he made them relevant. They had a top 25 ranking, took them to the NCAA tournament. Air Force hasn't been relevant in college basketball all that often. It's not often, Mark, you can return in college sports, that you can get a job a second time. Joe Scott, 16 years later, returns as men's basketball coach at Air Force. And needless to say, a sad story. He's the manager of the Stockton A-ball franchise in the Oakland A's minor league system. His name is Webster Garrison, and right now he is fighting for his life on a ventilator due to the coronavirus. He was supposed to manage the team in the Arizona Fall League, and he wasn't feeling well, and now he is, fighting the virus and on a ventilator, an A's minor league manager. And that, unfortunately, is how we end the starting five.
The starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton Starting Five. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
At 14 minutes before 7 o'clock. You can chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. Love to hear from you. 479-5551. What's on your mind? 479-5551. Would you give up the picks necessary to move up from 5-1 if you were the Dolphins? And if you were the Bengals, was there any deal that you would accept? Are you open to this? And our poll question, that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, what phrase that has emerged here in the last few weeks involving the coronavirus bothers you the most now? We've got 3 choices.
The new normal,
vote.
Fluid situation, and social distancing. Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter or millerandmoulton.com for your vote on our poll question. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening. Fox Sports Radio, streaming, foxsportsfm.com, and you are looking live on our YouTube and Twitch channels.
This is a special coronavirus update from Wink News.
I'm Therese O'Shea with Wink News. More than 24 new cases of coronavirus in Southwest Florida overnight and 2 new deaths, both in Lee County. A 62-year-old woman who traveled to Ecuador and a 96-year-old woman with no recent travel history. There are now 390 cases across Southwest Florida's 6 counties. To accommodate more patients, Gulf Coast Medical Center is opening 250 more beds ahead of schedule. 140 Lee Health employees are in quarantine. 7 tested positive after being exposed at work. Walmart will screen its employees before they come into work. If their temperature is more than 100 degrees, they'll be asked to go home and call their doctor. The president says to prepare for a difficult next 2 weeks as cases surge. The White House now forecasting 100 to 240,000 Americans will die from the pandemic. The website to file for unemployment in Florida is down for maintenance. The Department of Economic Opportunity is working to get it back up and running, upgrading the system to handle the rush of applicants. For updates on coronavirus, trust Wink News, facts, not fear.
Dr. Jim DiRispino from Center for Men's Health today in Frank's Garage. Doc, I was talking to a buddy of mine, telling him about my spring break plans, and he's like, where do you get the energy to do all this stuff? I said, testosterone replacement from C4MH.com. And then he asked me what testosterone has to do with energy.
Most people are aware of the effects of testosterone has on strength and sex drive, but for 99% of our patients, energy is the main focus.
I became a patient because I didn't want to lose muscle mass.
And there is hard data that testosterone improves mood, concentration, and memory.
So Center for Men's Health isn't just treating testosterone deficiency, it's treating the quality of your life.
Let me make this simple. Your body is a machine, and that machine was designed to run with a perfect testosterone level. But if you want to see how good your machine can perform, go to C4MH.com and spend the $45. You'll get over $400 of lab tests and the 30-minute physician consultation.
It's fast, easy, and convenient with locations all up and down the West Florida coast. Go to C4MH.com.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Do the math. Taking care of your pool is probably not a good use of your time and money. Free $50 Bonefish gift certificates when you sign up for one of our award-winning weekly service plans. We're a family company, and for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
94.1 Lehigh. We are Buckmore. No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information. Or visit TowboatUSCapeCoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
We're on the phone with our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples. TJ, we hear you've added several new colors of Core-Tec to your great lineup of products at the store. Tell us more about that.
We just ordered 5 new colors of Core-Tec for our stock. All nice, light, beautiful colors for Southwest Florida. That'll bring our total of 55 colors of Core-Tec in stock every day for purchase and take home.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tec that you have. You also have other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec Stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Core-Tec wood, look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
At Naples Nissan, the answer is yes. Yes, we're open, and you can still get the original base MSRP for your trade-in. Yes, your new Nissan will come with a full tank of gas for the next year and our exclusive unlimited mile lifetime warranty. And yes, absolutely yes, our entire team is fully committed to doing everything we can to help keep our entire Southwest Florida community healthy and safe. If your trade-in is less than 8 years old with less than 80,000 miles on it, we'll still pay you what you paid for it so you can drive home in a brand new, disinfected Nissan today. That's right, folks. Every new Nissan that leaves our lot will be treated with our long-term antimicrobial sanitizer. It's like a flu shot for your car. Plus, a full tank of gas on us for the next year. To learn more about everything we're saying yes to, come see us on Pine Ridge Road or visit naplesnissan.com. Yes, offers are on select models with approved credit, and yes, they can be combined.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No. This is Miller and Moulton.
Your life.
8 minutes before the top of the hour on this, either April Fool's Day or March 32nd, if you think April has declined its option.
I would.
Which is what we believe has happened.
I think April saw the sucker coming in and said, nope, I'm good.
Saw the handwriting on the wall and said, no, I'd rather play for a different team.
We'll take 2020 off. Coming back in 2021. They are sitting out the year for a better deal.
They are
Le'Veon Bell.
Back.
Yes, they are Le'Veon Bell, David.
I know I could make a lot of money if I play this year, but you know what? It's just not enough. 479-5551 is our Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. 479-5551. Hey, what is there a television show that you have found yourself watching in the last couple of weeks that you don't normally watch, either because you're home more? You know, you lost your second job, all right, in all this. And, it may come back, it may not. But, your second job went away. There are a lot of people in which their work has gone away or that they're working from home. And I'm just wondering, is there a show that you have, in the last couple weeks, that you find yourself watching that you either never watched before or you normally do not watch?
I personally, David, have watched less TV in the last 2 weeks than I have from an amount standpoint in any point in my life when I've been in my house. I remember my first marriage, 9/11 happened. My son was very young. I couldn't turn the TV off. And at one point, my ex-wife said to me, and he was 2 or 3. I don't even think he was 2 because we got divorced when he was pretty young. So I think he was 1, 1.5. And she says, does this need to be on all the time for him? And I'm like, he's 1. He can't hear it. And maybe that was true. Maybe he shouldn't have seen those images. I don't know. Can't redo that. But it stuck in my head a little bit, and I felt there's been no reason for me to have on constant coronavirus because that's what I'm most interested in. And she's 5, so the shows I want to watch, I typically can't. And by the time night comes, this just in, David, spending all day with a 5-year-old can wear you out.
I'm aware of that. But that's why I wondered, was there something new? Okay, I get it. You have your shows that you watch. You have your viewing habits. I asked if there was something new. Apparently, Mark, that what is going on in our country right now is causing folks late mornings to watch Let's Make a Deal and The Price is Right in record numbers.
Really?
Yes. Let's Make a Deal. Wayne Brady is its host, for those of you that don't know. All right, the show was brought back. This is a second run. Obviously, Monty Hall, Let's Make a Deal, had its run back in the day. The show has been back for 11 years. It leads into, I believe, The Price is Right in most markets.
And I'll be honest, I've had it on enough. It's not half bad, David.
Okay, well, they have their highest ratings in their history in these last couple weeks. The Price is Right, hosted by Drew Carey, has its biggest audience in over 4 years.
Makes sense.
Right now.
Based on what I just said, people are home with their kids. These are easy family shows that don't offend anybody.
So apparently the dramas, the CSIs, the FBIs, they're doing very well. Even NBC with their Chicago-based dramas are doing very well. So some of the viewing habits that, we're...
Have you and the wife found the new show?
Not the two of us together. Don't want to get into a long story, but my wife's working from home. She goes to bed very early, and she's working all day. So, no. I find myself, in all honesty, I have found myself watching more rom-coms for whatever reason during the day than I normally do. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because I can't get near my wife with a subpoena.
Maybe that's it. With the new cable system, I'm flipping channels in the movie channels. And last night, David, Platoon was on, and I stopped. And I watched for 15 minutes, turned into a half an hour, and I went, what in the hell are you doing?
Right.
Like,
Not
you
now.
need this right now.
Not now, Mr. Miller. Not now. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Guys, waking up over and over to...
You know what's crazy about that, though? Johnny Depp is in Platoon.
God, that's right.
We forget Charlie Sheen's a really good actor.
He was excellent in that.
I mean, first off, he was great in 2.5 Men. I know it was a comedy, but you can't be that funny for you got to know how to deliver jokes. But he was that
and they
movie.
Never gave him an Emmy, did they? I don't think he ever won. I don't think he ever won. And God knows he should have.
Super Beta Prostate is the best-selling brand in major retailers like Walmart. But for this
I mean, he was nominated.
I don't know if he was. Behringer was nominated.
Well, I mean,
winner. Okay, wait a minute. One Best Picture.
John. Oh no, I'm sorry. I was thinking for 2.5 Men. No, I don't.
He wasn't even nominated.
I know.
In fact, Tom Berenger was nominated as the best actor. Defoe was nominated as the best actor. They had 2 guys nominated, and he wasn't one of them. So
I was actually thinking for the sitcom for an Emmy. That's what I was talking about.
I think
but
he
yeah,
had
I am
to.
with you. He was nominated, but I don't think he ever won.
But I mean I'm watching that movie. One, it's makes Apocalypse Now seem like a comedy. Holy Christ.
Like Full Metal Jacket.
Well, Full Metal Jacket, though, for the first half of it, up until he whacks himself, is funny.
Yes.
I mean, there's no way of slicing it. That sergeant delivers just terrific lines.
Dark, though.
Oh.
Yeah, right. Now, you and I like Dark, but yeah.
But I remember I was dating a girl that was on. She had never seen it. I'd never seen somebody laugh so hard at the first 5 minutes of that movie. Like, she had tears rolling down her eyes.
Here's what's trending now. Brought to you by the Center for Men's Health, C4MH.com.
I got a couple of texts here from people really anti the trade.
Okay, good.
I didn't want to get into it in the last one. We can.
I thought that was a good lighthearted subject. The TV shows.
Yeah. Hey, we're.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
Do you know you can clean your own car?
And Moulton.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. The things we're going to learn.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Yes! Oh, I like it! It's up to you now! It's up to you! I like it!
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Hour number 2 of Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com, and broadcasting live many a place, including the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. 479-5551 is our number, 479-5551, if you want to chime in, either by call or texting on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line.
We have received a few texts this morning, David, about our early subject, because the Miami Dolphins appear as if, well, they're at least trying to get the Bengals on the phone. And with that, we have thrown out there a couple of possible scenarios for the Dolphins and Bengals doing business. David asked me point blank, what would it take if I were the Bengals? And I said, all the ones and you're 2. And when David played Chris Greer and said, okay, then what? And while we don't have a lot of Bengals fans listening, I know we have a couple. And I do know I have friends who are Bengals fans, and they are married. The wife's a bigger Bengal fan than the husband. She has claimed if they don't draft Joe Burrow, she will buy a Steelers jersey.
Well, it's what I said last hour. I said, I don't think the Bengals can say yes to this deal no matter what it is the Dolphins offer. I really don't believe so. The franchise is not in good shape, not just on the field. It might be in worse shape off of it from a business standpoint. Joe Burrow is the son of Ohio. They got their chance to make him their franchise quarterback, conceivably for the decade. And during the course of this decade, Mike Brown wants a new stadium. And there's no way right now he's going to get a dime from the taxpayers for a variety of reasons. And I believe, Mark, the only way he can get a dime from the taxpayers of Ohio, and let's face it, after this coronavirus outbreak, when we put our economy together, I mean, you think it's hard getting tax dollars for something non-essential before. Think about how difficult it's going to be for the next few years afterwards. And I think the only chance he's got, quite frankly, is Joe Burrow.
What's interesting about this to me, David, is that so far, it seems that the Bengals have this interest in Herbert, the Oregon quarterback. And it seems that the Dolphins are now enamored with Joe Burrow. What I am gathering based on by my Bengals friends who are fans and my Dolph fans who are texting the show is that the fan bases despise the idea of this deal on both fronts. On both fronts. Here are the Dolphin texts that we got this morning. Only a couple, but feel free to chime in. We do have a new text line. If some of you have it stored in your phone, you may be just sending text to an indiscriminate number that someone has that we don't know.
Right.
Because the number
they took it from
we
us.
believe, as our best guess can tell us, David's rental car and David's wallet kidnapped the text line.
Right. My phone and
Or
wallet.
I'm sorry, your phone and wallet.
Right. My phone and wallet have gobbled up our old text line. And so that's why our number is 479-5551, 479-5551.
And on that number, we received this text very early this morning when we began talking about this subject. Please stop. I don't want Burrow. I want Tua. But I've been hearing lots of Dolphins brass is in love with Joe. But Burrow is an Ohio kid, and I don't know how they can pass up the chance to have a local kid. Another texter just said, Dolphins giving up those picks would be nuts.
Why? Seriously. I mean, why? If he's the right one, if you get it right, what wouldn't you give up for a franchise quarterback? Honestly, there's no such thing as too much. I'm not kidding. If I can, which obviously I can't, but you're thinking the worst. What if you actually thought about it the other way? What if you get your hands on your Deshaun Watson? What if he is the answer? You haven't had a top 5 quarterback in over 20 years. But what if this guy's going to be a top 5 quarterback in the league? What wouldn't you give up for it? Honestly. Well, I want all your number 1 picks this year. Okay. Well, give me your second round pick this year. Okay. I'll take your first round pick next year. Okay. Honestly. If Joe Burrow or Tua or whomever is the answer, what wouldn't you give up for them? There is no price. Honestly, the Herschel Walker trade would be worth it if you got a top 5 quarterback out of the deal. Vikings fans would have no problem with the Herschel Walker deal if they had won a Super Bowl. Hell, they might not even have a problem with it if they had gotten to a Super Bowl. I mean, honestly. I mean, you know, the Patriots get a franchise quarterback for a 6th-round pick. The Seahawks get one for a 3rd-round pick. But if, you know, the sports gods came to them and said, listen, I don't know how to tell you this. This guy's the deal. This guy's going to be the best quarterback you've ever had. What wouldn't you give up for him? And it's like, here's a blank piece of paper and a pen. Write down what we have to give up. I mean, am I out of line in thinking that?
Actually, you're not, David. No, you know, and I didn't have to listen to the rest of it because I've heard the diatribe before. But the first thing that you said is the one. And once you said that, it's like I don't have to hear the rest because the first part's so accurate. You said it perfectly. Everybody thinks doomsday scenario with the trade. They think the trade's not going to work.
Right.
And that's the part of this that is very, very hard to get through. You know, going back in the drafts, we all know that, Mitchell Trubisky went second. That didn't work. No. Patrick Mahomes went 10th. That seems to be working. Deshaun Watson went 12th. That seems to be working. They were the only quarterbacks taken in the first round.
By the way, remember the Chiefs. Sorry, Mark, but go back to Mahomes. Chiefs had to move up in a big way. What did they give up? They gave up next year's one. They gave up this year's one in the draft that they did it in, another pick in that draft, and then they gave up the next year's one. It's any Chiefs fan thinking they paid too much. If you said to the Chiefs right now, hey, in retrospect, you stole Patrick Mahomes. We're going to take your 2021 and 2022 first-round draft picks away from you because you didn't give up fair compensation for them. They'd go, okay.
So,
sure.
But here, look at it in the entirety. Even though Trubisky looks as if he's a bust right now, David, that's 66%. That's 2 of 3. We don't have that very often. That's an unbelievable year. 2018. That's the Mayfield, Darnold, Allen, Rosen, Jackson. Now, Rosen appears to be a bust.
Yes.
Do any of the other 4?
10th overall.
Do any of the other 4? I'm not saying they're elite, but to any of the other 4, Allen, Darnold, Mayfield, Lamar Jackson look like busts right now.
Busts?
Yeah.
No. But
Jackson's the guy.
Not sure how many of them look like franchise quarterbacks.
Well, and we'll find out this year. We will find out this year. So that's what people are thinking, because that one right now looks like 1 of 5. That's 20%, and it was the 5th one that was successful. So that's why people think that way. I understand your point, and your mentality is the right one. And I do think people need to be beat over the head and chest, David, with that mentality. Because you're right. It took you a while to convince me of it. But the fact of the matter is, let's look at Washington when they took RG3. They got to a playoff. I don't even want to focus on the good, because that's a total unmitigated bust. How much better would they have been if they drafted anybody else? Can you help me out? Because they don't have a quarterback. No, I know they got Cousins late, but what I'm saying is, if they don't draft RG3 at all, are they better, the same, or worse? At best, they're the same. RG did take him to a playoff.
Yeah, he was Rookie of the Year, actually.
Right.
I mean, people for that first year wondered if he was the better quarterback between him and Luck. So, now listen, I get it if you go, dude, it's way too much. I can't give up 3 number ones, never mind anything else. Because you could very easily turn this around on me, and not even just in talking about Burrow or Tua or anybody like that. You could ask the question right now, Mark, how many quarterbacks in the league would you give up what reportedly the Dolphins would have to give up to move up to get Burrow? I mean, how many quarterbacks would you do that for? Would you give up 3 ones, never mind if you have to throw in something else? And I literally say throw in, because when you're the Dolphins and you have the picks that they have over the next 2 drafts, whatever it is, quite frankly, is darn near a throw in. So, but how many quarterbacks in the league right now would you give up what the Dolphins are reportedly being asked to give up for? I mean, obviously you would do it for Mahomes. Would you do it for Deshaun Watson?
Yes.
Well, I would. I would. Now, would you do it for, Ben's 38?
Well, I wouldn't do it for a 38-year-old Ben, but I think your point is, if you look at all the quarterbacks in the league that are the guy, how many of them would you do it for? And I think the answer, quite frankly, is most.
Well, I don't know about most, but I think there's at least a quick dozen. I really
do.
I think there are a dozen teams out there that go, upon further review, we would have given up 3 number ones for this guy.
Right. Yeah, you're not doing it for Minshew or what, but you know what I mean. I mean, obviously Brady you would have, and Rivers you would have, and Stafford you probably even would have as well.
That's an interesting one. Matt Stafford, the Matt Ryans, the Matt Staffords of the world. I think much more highly of Stafford than most do. But now, would I do it for Dak Prescott? No. Now, here's an interesting one. Would you do it for Carson Wentz?
I wouldn't.
I'm a Wentz guy.
I wouldn't. I'm not.
I mean, right now, and here's another way to look at it. Today, even, if you had to acquire them via trade, how many quarterbacks in this league would you give up 3? If you're the Dolphins and you could acquire any of the other 31 quarterbacks, for whatever reason they're made available, how many of those 31 would you give up your 3 first-round picks in this year's draft for? And that might be a way of talking yourself out of making this deal. It might be a way of sobering somebody like me up and going, hey, think about this. Now, we'll quickly go by division. Anybody in the NFC East you'd give up 3 ones for? To me, Wentz is the only one that I would consider.
I wouldn't.
Okay. In the North,
Rodgers.
Would you do it for? Well, but remember, you're acquiring Aaron Rodgers today, so you're acquiring him for 5 years, basically. Would you give up 3 ones for Aaron Rodgers today?
Not for 5 years.
Now, if the Dolphins were in position to win,
right.
I would.
It's not the right team.
Tampa, I'd do it.
If I was Chicago, I'd do it. I mean, I know that would never happen, but if I was the Raiders, I'd do it. If I was the Bills, I would do it. There are a ton of teams that I would do it for Rodgers. Miami's just not one of them.
Now, believe it or not, I think there are teams ready to win in which Matthew Stafford's an upgrade at quarterback.
I do, too.
I got to be honest. If Matthew Stafford was in Dallas, I might pick him to go to the Super Bowl.
If Matthew Stafford was with the Chargers.
So, you and I feel, I think, much more highly about Stafford than most do. We go into the South. Now, obviously, remember, you're acquiring 40. He'll be 43 in August, Tom Brady. And Breeze is 40. So would you give up 3 first-round picks for a Breeze, a Brady, a Ryan? The answer is probably no.
No, no.
Now you get into the West. Now I'd give up 3 first-round picks for Russell Wilson,
yes,
even though the first digit's a 3.
Yep. I got a decade with him. I'm in.
Yeah, and even if I only get about 7 more years.
Would you do it for Jimmy G?
Oh, hell no. No, if I was the Niners, I would have traded Jimmy G back to the Patriots for Brady. No. I think the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl showed it all. That's his limit, and it was there for the taking, and he couldn't didn't make the big throw.
All right, let me give you this one, because this is a trade you could. I don't think they would with their head coach, but Kyler Murray.
No, I want no part of this. You know me. This doesn't interest me at all.
And I know you don't like Goff, so I'm not even going to bring that up.
Oh, my goodness. I wouldn't have spent a first-round pick on Goff. Now we go to the AFC. Any of the ones in the East, are you a Sam? And I like Sam Darnold, but I'm not giving up anything more than what they gave up to get him.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade for Sam Darnold.
Anybody, Josh Allen. Some
no,
people really like
not
him.
Interested in him either.
3 ones. So, now we go to the North. Lamar. Would you give up 3 ones for Lamar after the year he just produced?
That's fascinating. That is fascinating, because you want to talk about being able to win now, David. I mean, that seems to be a recipe where you could really turn a franchise around in a hurry.
Yeah.
I would do it for. I might roll the dice on Lamar Jackson.
See, I wouldn't. I am concerned about him getting hurt, running as often as he does, and taking the hits that he's taking.
Did you say you would for Wentz or you wouldn't for Wentz?
I probably wouldn't. It's probably just a little too steep.
And that's fine, because I was gonna. I know you are, and I was gonna give you a little grief. Going, really, you're gonna do this for Wentz, who seems to get hurt often. And
no, he does.
That's all. That's why I had to double check that one. I wasn't sure of your answer, because I was going to get on you a little bit. I would for Lamar. You wouldn't. I would for Deshaun Watson.
This is how injury-prone Carson Wentz is. He played in all the games last year. He got hurt twice. I mean, he played injured last year, and then finally got knocked out of a playoff game with an injury. Who else in the AFC? Well, and now I would give up 3 ones for Deshaun Watson.
Yes.
I think Bill O'Brien is doing Deshaun Watson a disservice. Never mind the fact he just traded DeAndre Hopkins in what might be the worst NFL trade ever, or since Herschel Walker. But
by the way, just quickly, David, I'm sorry. I got a sidebar on this, on Bill O'Brien, because yesterday we didn't get into it, but Tunsil, I believe, was offered somewhere in the $18.5 million range. And by all accounts, he turned it down. His number is a lot higher. And I love me some Laramie Tunsil because it's just fun. But my goodness gracious, he loses his best receiver. And you were right. Laramie Tunsil has this team backed into a corner.
Totally.
And he's going to get $21 million a year at tackle that he doesn't deserve because the Houston Texans have no choice after making the trade that they did and giving up what they gave up to not re-sign him. And this will mess with their cap a bit because they are going to be about 3 to 4% higher on that position than they should be. And it will cost them somewhere else. Bill O'Brien, I believe, and I know he's Pat's buddy, and I love Pat coming on the show. Bill O'Brien is damn near an incompetent general manager in this league.
I think you could take damn near out of the equation. He gave Laramie Tunsil all the leverage in the world. That's the type of trade you make, and we see it so often in all sports. A guy wants out. There's a disgruntled situation. All right, fine. You give the team whatever it is that you're giving up, and they gave up way too much for a left tackle. 2 1s and a 2 for a left tackle. Say that out loud. We're debating 3 number 1 picks for a quarterback.
For the first overall quarterback. 2.
They gave up 2 1s and a 2 for a left tackle and then didn't sign him to an extension. I mean, that's where you say to the Dolphins, I need 24 hours to negotiate here. And the deal is dependent on us signing him to a long-term extension. Because, yes, he has all the leverage. You gave up 2 1s and a 2.
Yeah,
okay,
you had to do this.
Saying no.
You had this deal, had to get it done right away. Had to be done the minute you made the trade.
And, Mark, take a look right now at cap room this minute in time in the NFL. The Texans are in the top 5 in most available cap room. So for 2 reasons, Laramie Tunsil and his agent are going, no, sorry, no. And it's also a reason why the DeAndre Hopkins trade is worse every day. You have the cap room. You could have signed him and redone his contract. Yes, he still had 3 years left, but he had already outperformed it. You could have sweetened it. You could have made him happy. You gave up one of the 3 best receivers in football for not even a first-round pick, and you gave up 2 1s and a 2 for a left tackle, who now is going to cost you more than anything DeAndre Hopkins ever would have asked for. Deshaun Watson, get out of there or get him out of there as soon as you can.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien is going to destroy this franchise because Deshaun Watson can't get out fast enough when his contract's up. He's not going to re-sign there. They're going to have to franchise him twice unless they just pay him obscene money. But they'll franchise him twice, which will cost him a ton. They'll have $60 million between their left tackle and their quarterback, David.
Yeah, what I think is going to happen is that when it comes time to re-sign him, Bill O'Brien, the GM, and Bill O'Brien, the coach, are not going to be there. And that's probably what's going to keep Deshaun Watson, the quarterback, in Houston. But if you look at, there's many different ways to look at this. You know, what wouldn't you give up if you get the guy? But then flip it. How many of the quarterbacks that are in the league today would you give up 3 first-round draft picks for? And the number is a lot smaller than you would think at first glance. So you can come at this whole Dolphins, should they trade up from 5 to 1 if they're really enamored with Burrow, and that's the one that they would prefer to have. And if you're the Bengals, should you give it up and move down and get Justin Herbert or Tua? Mark, you know, I'm a Tua guy. I wouldn't do this deal. But if I was all in on Burrow, if I was the way that I was coming into this season on Tua, then I'd make this deal.
I know you would. And I wouldn't because I know Tua's been hurt. Tua's my guy. I want Tua.
And you can get him. And
I can give up less.
Not even have to give.
Might not have to give up anything.
Might not.
I couldn't play that game, though. I could not sit still if I were Miami, David. I could not take the chance that someone would jump me and get my guy. Can't.
You got to get to 3.
I agree.
You got to get to 3. And then the only poker game is, can you hold on to both first-round picks? Can you move up 2 spots by giving away, say, a second and a third? As opposed to having to, and remember, we keep going back. How many years ago was it now? 3 drafts ago? The Jets moved up from 6 to 3. They gave up 3 second-round picks to do it. 3 to move up from 6 to 3. The Dolphins are trying to move from 5 to 3. Now, that doesn't mean that Detroit would accept those terms. But I'm just saying that price has been paid recently, and it's been paid for a quarterback. Miller and Moulton. Dave Hyde is an outstanding writer for the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. He will join us to talk about how real is this? The Dolphins trying to get their hands on Joe Burrow, and is the price tag too steep? Our poll question, trying to have some fun with the times that we are living in today. What phrase that is being bantied about are you, have you grown a little sick and tired of? All right.
Social distancing, that's one. The new normal, my leader in the clubhouse, because that just drives me bat blank crazy. And what was the third one we had? See, I don't have it up right now. That's what you do to me, David. Social distancing. Really, this is impressive, David. We can't even come up with our own poll question. I was getting ready for Dave. I'm doing the graphic for David Hyde right now, and you just threw me. Fluid situation. Those are our 3. New normal, social distancing, fluid situation. What this show seems to be, a very fluid situation, with the exception of the last 30 seconds, in which it was an absolute train wreck. Social distancing with nearly half of the votes early on. Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton to answer. Dave Hyde, columnist for the Sun-Sentinel, talking Dolphins next on Miller and Moulton, Fox Sports Radio.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
The NFL draft is going forward. Roger Goodell sent a memo out warning against public comments from people in the NFL. The NFL has figured something out about Twitter. Twitter turns its back on everybody. You know who never turns its back on the NFL? Fox, CBS, NBC. And those people want to draft.
Colin Cowherd. Weekdays at noon on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Dial star 2020. Friends, I care.
How about making better vision part of your to-do list? Dr. Jonathan France, a pioneer in LASIK surgery, and his expert team of surgeons at France Eye Care want to help you see your future in 2020. France Eye Care is offering $1,000 off bilateral LASIK. This is a huge savings, made even more affordable because financing is available. So when these clouds of confinement are lifted, rid yourself of those glasses and contacts and experience the freedom of LASIK so that you can see clearly as we drive far, far away to, well, the grocery store to pick up food and toilet paper. Make LASIK with France Eye Care the easy choice. Start the process today by scheduling your free consultation with no purchase obligation. Wishing you the very best of health from France Eye Care.
France Eye Care.
You own a home with a tile or shingle roof? You live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island? Hello, I'm Jimmy Williamson with Williamson Brothers Roofing. If you answered yes to either question, it's very likely your roof suffered damage from Hurricane Irma that's not visible from the ground, and you may very well be entitled to a new roof for little or no money out of pocket. But you only have a 3-year window to make a claim, and time is running out. If you have a tile or shingle roof and live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island, call us at 239-283-2013. It's a free, no-obligation inspection that can benefit you in the form of a new roof. Williamson Brothers Roofing, we deal with the insurance carrier for you. Call us at 239-283-2013. Again, time is running out. Call us at 239-283-2013. Williamson Brothers Roofing specializes in the claims process. We have experts standing by. We get claims approved. 239-283-2013.
Welcome to Jimmy P's Chard. As you enter through the front doors, you'll know that you've arrived in the finest steak and chop house in Southwest Florida. All cuts expertly cut at their very own butcher shop. A true butcher block-to-table experience. 3 generations of mastering Wagyu beef, heritage Berkshire pork, poultry, lamb, and veal. The mood of Chard's nostalgic dining area is upbeat, high energy, and casual sophistication. A friendly and relaxed place, not fancy or stuffy. Chard's staff works hard to make you feel at home. Come in and unwind. Enjoy an exquisite glass of wine or perhaps a handcrafted beer with your perfectly charred steak. Afternoon or evening, it's going to be a wonderful experience at Chard. Jimmy P's Chard on South US 41 in Bonita Springs. Jimmy P's Butcher Shop on Old US 41 in Bonita Springs. Online at jimmypschard.com. Welcome to Jimmy P's Chard. Stop in today and tell them Jimmy sent you.
I'm a busy person. Catch the show anytime. Check out MillerandMoulton.com and subscribe to the daily podcasts.
Why would someone take a chance on purchasing a frameless shower door from a big box store or an online discounter of an obscure brand, and then try and find a licensed, qualified installer to put it in, when you can deal directly with a local, family-owned business that consults, measures, manufactures, and installs their own award-winning brand of shower doors? My Shower Door is a family-owned and operated business and has the highest ratings on Angie's List and Home Advisor. Want to see more? Go to myshowerdor.com.
There will be parties again soon and family gatherings.
Great. Good news, David. I think everything's working a little better since I dropped all these rates. I don't know if you saw, you're not on Twitter or Twitch, but somebody said everything's a lot better today. So that's good news. Never got an answer from that guy on where to go, but I just guessed.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Just past the midway point at 7:31 of Miller and Moulton on this Wednesday. We believe April has declined its option, and that today is March 32nd. We'll get confirmation of that coming up. Seth Everett will join us 1 hour from now. It is a pleasure to welcome back. It has been a while. The outstanding columnist for the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. He's Dave Hyde. You can follow him on Twitter at Dave Hyde Sports. Dave, big fans from across the alley. Thanks so much for your time, particularly at this hour. But more importantly, how are you and your family doing during all this?
Well, thanks for having me, gentlemen. Everybody's going well. We have all the complaints or concerns that everybody else has, but I appreciate you asking, and hope everybody over there is doing well too.
We are. I think it's a little better over here than it is on that side. I will start you with our poll question, because we're at least trying to make light of things going on. Not light, but just trying to keep things light. What COVID-19 phrase annoys you the most? Fluid situation, social distancing, or new normal?
Right. I remember when social distancing first came out, which seems like years ago at this point, and I thought, there's a new one I haven't heard before. And shouldn't it be physical distancing, not social distancing? I think we're long past the curve of getting it right, but social distancing sounds like something you do on Twitter or something.
Well, it also sounds like a bit of an oxymoron. Social implies coming together,
right.
Okay, and then distancing at the same time. Do you believe there is there to the Dolphins' interest in Burrow, and therefore having to move up to 1 to get him?
Yes, I think there is interest from the Dolphins side. And I don't know if, we're guessing from the Cincinnati side. I'm sure they're listening, because why wouldn't they? And the question would then be, can the Dolphins, and would they meet whatever Cincinnati's demands are? You know, they have 5 number 1 picks over the next 2 years and 4 number 2 picks, so they could assemble a good trade offer. The question I have no idea on is what they would consider a good trade offer and what Cincinnati would think would be a good trade. Obviously the offer being talked about and whispered and repeated by a lot of people is 3 number 1 picks. And yeah, I do that. But, you know, again, will the Dolphins and will Cincinnati? I don't know.
It's really interesting, as we've pointed out, Dave, from Cincinnati's standpoint, because a lot of thoughts that they were very enamored with Justin Herbert at the Senior Bowl. But the other side of this is Cincinnati has an attendance problem. They want a new venue. And passing up on Joe Burrow would seemingly be very difficult for them. You know, you look at this from a bigger picture than just, you know, the quarterback. You see the whole thing. Do you think Cincinnati can walk away from local kid makes good?
Can they? Yeah, they can. I don't think they will. I mean, you can't argue both sides. You can't say, if you're the Dolphins, yeah, I'd do that, and if you're Cincinnati, yeah, I'd do that, because both of them are, you know, they're in similar boats. I mean, when you finish that poorly last year, and you know, they played into overtime, so it's not like one team was significantly better than the other. Both of them need a lot, and the only way it makes sense is, look, the Dolphins have a ton of draft picks, and Cincinnati could use some of those draft picks to rebuild their roster. But if I'm Cincinnati and if Burrow grades out on my scouts, you know, scorecard as high as he seems to be everywhere, then it'd be hard to pass on Burrow. And the marketing things would be a plus. The fact that he's from Ohio. Now, he's from a few hours away in Ohio. It'd be similar to a guy in Orlando playing in Miami. It doesn't really translate, but, you know, it's not a bad thing either.
He's Dave Hyde, columnist for the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. You can follow him on Twitter at Dave Hyde Sports. How much does Miami, and I don't just mean the Dolphins, how much does the sports city of Miami need the Dolphins to get a franchise quarterback and get it right?
We've been on this subject for 20 years, right? I mean, and you look at
Dave,
I think it's been 6 regimes, and all.
But Dave,
yeah.
You had Wade and LeBron, though, to fill some of the gap. Also, is what I was implying. I mean, right now, and I understand the Heat had put together a nice little season, but it seems as if the sports landscape where you are could use kind of the jolt that Tampa Bay just got. You know, they got something they've never had. You know, Miami has had this, but they haven't had it in a while.
Yeah, it's been a sports generation or two, depending on how you count it, since the Dolphins really had that guy who, when he walks out on Sunday, you could say win. So, yeah, from a marquee standpoint, look, we are deplete of superstars right now. We have nobody. You know, Jimmy Butler with the Heat is probably as high as it goes. So, you know, look at my poor job. You know, I lost a guy in Wade. I count guys by how many columns they can give me in a year. You know, Wade could give me 10 columns in a year. You know, Pat Riley, when he was the coach, gave me, you know, 12 columns in a year. Marino, you know, every Sunday I could write about him. There's nobody like that on the landscape right now. Please, Lord, send me somebody. So,
you know, think about it, Dave. Not just that, even the little ones. You know, Lane left you. Lane was good for one here and there. Now you don't even have an FIU coach to get you a couple here and there by saying something dumb. I guess unless you write about Jeter, there's not anyone in the Marlins organization worth writing about. Dave, you're on to something here. This is tough.
You know, I tell the Dolphins, Marino would say that they wasted his prime. The Dolphins fan would say that about Marino. And I tell the Dolphins the same thing. They've wasted my prime here. My prime is for the last 20 years. They gave me nothing.
What's the pulse on that coast for a big move like this? I mean, do Dolph fans, when you sell, we're going to acquire all these picks, and the fan base seemingly ate it up. They were in on the rebuild. Well, now the talk is, we may have to give up something to move up just to get Tua. We'd have to give up a lot more to move up if we want to get Burrow. I mean, has Dolph fan now become, hey, I want to keep these picks. I've grown attached to these picks. Or are they like, hey, do whatever you got to do?
Well, I think it's split. The number, I put it all on the number, this heading, which is simply, please get it right this time. Okay? I mean, whether that means trading up for Burrow, taking Tua, or Jordan Love, or Justin Herbert. I mean, there's people in all those camps. But it's all under the heading, just get it right this time, okay? And that's really the difficult proposition for them from the outside, when you look at it all. Last season was sacrificed to make this decision easy, to get the number one pick or get enough draft picks to make a trade. And yet when you sit here and look at it, none of them look like a sure thing right now. Burrow's the biggest sure thing, but now you have people saying, "Oh, don't trade the draft picks." But also you have the bigger question: which Cincinnati could you come up with a trade? Tua's injury, Herbert and Jordan Love have questions about them. So what? Last August, when this all started to be really laid out in September, when you saw, okay, this plan is in motion, what looked to be, okay, it's going to be a season of pain, but there'll be a good answer at the end. Now you got the pain, but you don't have the sure answer.
They do not. And for what it's worth, Dave, on this coast, when we brought up the trade I don't know, I think my co-host David said it best, is that when people talk trades, they figure that every quarterback's going to be a bust. They never think he's going to be a great quarterback. But what we've been getting on this coast from the Dolph fan has been a constant, don't make this deal. Don't trade all these picks. So I've been a little surprised, but I think that David's onto something. Most people now think every draft pick's going to be a bust, don't they?
Well, that's sort of how you've been conditioned here. So you have to remember it's a new regime and on some level, and then new picks. But I don't think there's that. I saw Adam Schefter came out last night saying the Dolphins they're not so enamored with Tua as people are, as a lot of people think, meaning a lot of the draft picks, I assume is what he's saying, or a lot of fans. Because, look, Steve Ross came out during Super Bowl week and said his health was a concern, and he's pretty usually a straight shooter. He wasn't saying they wouldn't take him, but he was saying that what everybody said, the health was a concern to them too. And so, again, I'm curious. Their job is to do. They have more information than anybody inside the Dolphins. Medical history, behavior, talking with the coaches, expertise on quarterbacks, the system they operated, the players they were with. So their job is to fall in love with one of these guys and make that guy work.
Talking the Dolphins and whether or not they're going to make the big deal to move up, whether it's for Tua, Herbert, or what has been talked about here a lot more recently, moving up to 1 to take Joe Burrow. Dave, let's get to the reality of everyday life. The press conference that was held yesterday showed the curve as the president and his council thinks it's going to be, where it's basically going to take the next 2 months for the curve to go all the way up and then come pretty much all the way down. If that's the case, and if we're not starting to, leave our houses much before June, what do you think the sports landscape is going to be, particularly on your coast? Okay, first baseball, never mind basketball or hockey, and then whether or not your gut feeling that football starts on time.
Yeah, well, I think there'll be euphoria, let's face it, whenever we get back, from the standpoint that, everybody wants some fun again, right? And if sports are starting up again, whenever they do, that'll mean all these bigger concerns are gone. So, that's where I start. We get back to the old normal, which was what we want. Whether football starts up again, I really have no idea. It'll be, here we are at the start of April, and you look back a month, how much has changed in people's thinking and health concerns and behavior. And I'm just not smart enough to project where we'll be in mid-September. And I'm not sure anybody really can. All we know is the NFL says they're going to hold a normal season, or they're planning to. Now, what they're saying is a normal, 16? They're not going into the 17 game this year, so a normal 16-game season. Now, that might be pushed back a couple months too. There's no reason they couldn't play, into March if necessary. So, I think a lot of things are on the table right now, but nobody can make a decision on, or even needs to make a decision right now on what to do.
Dave, as we said in the intro, big fans from this coast. Hope all is well with you and your family through all this, and hopefully we can talk again sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for the kind words, too. Be well.
Dave Hyde is a columnist for the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. Follow him on Twitter at Dave Hyde, which is HYDE Sports. Dave Hyde Sports, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. We are 15 minutes before 8 o'clock. Today was the day when. Coming up, Seth Everett for his weekly chat in about 45 minutes' time. Our poll question, which coronavirus phrase are you, most wearisome of?
The new normal. I'm telling you right now, I hate it.
That's my vote.
I hate the new normal. Hated it the first time I heard it, because that means that that's normal. And I will not accept that this is normal.
Right. Social distancing, the new normal. And what was the other one?
Fluid situation.
Fluid situation. I have to admit, I like fluid situation. All right, I do. That sounds cool. That sounds like a Sports Center catchphrase from one of their cool anchors back in the 90s, like something that Craig Kilborn would say, this is a fluid situation.
I hear you. And I did love you and Dave's point on social distancing. Shouldn't it be physical distancing? That is really a hell of a point.
I just think it's an
because socially we don't have to distance, really. I mean, we can talk on the phone. We can be social. We can't do it in person.
Social, just not socially.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Miller and Moulton. Today was the day when. Coming up next on this March 32nd, because April has declined its option here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
This is a special coronavirus update from Wink News.
I'm Therese O'Shea with Wink News. More than 24 new cases of coronavirus in Southwest Florida overnight and 2 new deaths, both in Lee County. A 62-year-old woman who traveled to Ecuador and a 96-year-old woman with no recent travel history. There are now 390 cases across Southwest Florida's 6 counties. To accommodate more patients, Gulf Coast Medical Center is opening 250 more beds ahead of schedule. 140 Lee Health employees are in quarantine. 7 tested positive after being exposed at work. Walmart will screen its employees before they come into work. If their temperature is more than 100 degrees, they'll be asked to go home and call their doctor. The president says to prepare for a difficult next 2 weeks as cases surge. The White House now forecasting 100 to 240,000 Americans will die from the pandemic. The website to file for unemployment in Florida is down for maintenance. The Department of Economic Opportunity is working to get it back up and running, upgrading the system to handle the rush of applicants. For updates on coronavirus, trust Wink News, facts, not fear.
Dr. Jim DiRispino from Center for Men's Health today in Frank's garage. Doc, I was talking to a buddy of mine, telling him about my spring break plans, and he's like, where do you get the energy to do all this stuff? I said, testosterone replacement from C4MH.com. And then he asked me what testosterone has to do with energy.
Most people are aware of the effects of testosterone has on strength and sex drive, but for 99% of our patients, energy is the main focus.
I became a patient because I didn't want to lose muscle mass.
So I asked my mom
that testosterone
if
mood,
she's watching.
And memory.
I asked my mom if she's watching on Twitch. And she said she is. She said, A, picture far and away the best it's ever been. None of all the other stuff that was going on. Picture is locked and loaded. She said, and I don't know if I had told you this, my mom had been saying that Twitch had been dropping commercials in while we were in the middle of our show. And I said, so like we're in the middle of an interview and all of a sudden a commercial would appear. And she said, yeah. And I went, huh. She told me, she said, none of that's happened today. So I don't know if one had anything to do with the other. If like, I have no idea, but I just thought I'd pass it along.
No, it's great. And that's why I literally typed on the Twitch thing here because a bunch, one person said, hey, the stream's been much better today. And I'm like, great. I dropped all the rates, and then a couple other people chimed in, and I just told them, I said, you guys are our eyes and ears. I don't have a staff monitoring this. Giro's got enough crap to do running the show, and no one else is there to do it. So these guys are an unbelievable help.
So, yeah.
And your mom.
Trying to think what else. My mom had pointed out two things.
By the way, I got a lot of crap here for you to chime in on. There's a lot of fun little nuggets that I think you'll want to get in on.
Oh, okay.
So let's get right to it because there's literally a bunch of sports stuff that happened, but none of it's monumental, if you know what I mean.
All right.
All right, I'm hitting the mute button because I forgot earlier. Too many damn things in front of me.
We get a lot of zany people that call in.
Bram Sith is the...
Our South.
We're dealing with sick people here.
They're just absolutely nuts. Crazy stuff happens. That's all I'm saying.
And you can only get it here. Get crazy, get wild. On Fox Sports Radio.
All these pictures of adults' feet with a scale underneath them right now might be the most disturbing thing I'll see all day.
Great lineup of products at the store. Tell us more about that.
We just ordered 5 new colors of Core-Tec for our stock. All nice, light, beautiful colors for Southwest Florida. That'll bring our total of 55 colors of Core-Tec in stock every day for purchase and take home.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tec that you have. You also have other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec Stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Core-Tec wood, look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floormeisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
This election season, there's only one candidate with a spotless resume and impeccable service record.
No, that is not an Andre the Giant. That is George the Animal Steele. George the Animal Steele. Next to Swampy. He and Swampy are not social distancing. Oh, I thought that was from... Oh, that's from you. See, I don't care about you. I was talking to the listeners. I didn't realize you were the one that texted on there. Because you didn't just do... You did your age or something. You didn't do David Moulton. It's Moulton 54. So I wasn't paying much attention that it was.
Yeah, because I guess somebody took that. So that was I tried many different ones. That was the first one I could get to work.
You know what I was thinking about for a poll question, but we'd get in trouble, is what news phrase do you like the most or like the... But I actually like Winks. Like, I like the facts, not fear. Because nationally, they're all... I like that one the best. I figured that was my saving grace.
This is Miller and Moulton. You're live.
Seven minutes before 8 o'clock. We are pressed for time, so let's get right to it. Time for...
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When... giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
We start in 1778 today when Oliver Pollock, a New Orleans businessman, creates what we now know as the dollar symbol. 1853, Cincinnati becomes the first U.S. city to employ full-time firefighters. It was in 1854 that they began spring breaking at the Lani Kai. 1905, SOS adopted as the Morse code distress signal by the German government. In 1919, had to bring this one up, David, the Stanley Cup Final. Montreal Canadiens and the Seattle Metropolitans tied at 2-2-1. The trophy was not awarded due to a worldwide flu epidemic.
Huh.
Yeah. In 1930, Leo Harnett breaks the altitude record for a catch as the Cubs catcher caught a baseball dropped from the Goodyear blimp at 800 feet over Los Angeles. Also in 1930, Bobby Jones starts his Grand Slam season by winning the Southeastern Open by a mere 13 shots over Horton Smith.
He was pretty good.
Gordie Howe had 2 and an apple in a win over Toronto in double overtime. It was the fastest goal from the start of a playoff game when he scored 9 seconds into the contest. 1963, David, General Hospital premieres on ABC. Can't wait to tell Seth what happened in 1969. The Pilots trade for little-known minor league outfielder Lou Piniella to the Royals for 2 prospects. He would be the American League Rookie of the Year. 1970, Nixon signed a bill banning cigarette advertisements starting at the first of the year in 71. MLB staged their first strike in 72. Play resumes when owners and players agree to a $500,000 increase in pension fund payments. Boy, has negotiations changed, David. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers in 74 changed their band name and leave Gainesville for L.A. They never looked back. They would become Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. 1976, Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs founded this company called Apple.
Done okay.
That's what I heard. 78, the last airing of the Bob Newhart Show. Do you know what? I was biffed by that. I thought that was CBS because it says NBC was the last network.
Huh.
I think they're wrong. Wasn't Newhart on...
At one point, well, it was part of that legendary Saturday night lineup on CBS at one point. Maybe it switched at the end of its first run.
USC goes back-to-back, beating Tennessee in 84. Shell Miller, consecutive MOPs. 84, 24-year-old Freddie Couples wins at Sawgrass, beating Lee Trevino by 1.
He said that tournament changed his life because at that point in time it gave you a 10-year exemption. And he said you have no idea what that meant.
85, Nova beats Georgetown as an 8 seed.
Missed 1 shot from the field in the second half.
89, A. Bartlett Giamatti takes over, David. 91, Duke beats Kansas.
Coach K's first title.
93, we lost Alan Kowicki on this day. And in 1996, Kentucky beats the Cuse for their championship. 2002, Maryland would beat Indiana for the Terps' first title game. And today was the day when on April 1st. There's a bunch of birthdays, but let's be honest, who cares? I don't have enough time.
Happy birthday for those of you who have it on what's normally April 1st or today, March 32nd. Miller and Moulton.
We are Fox Sports!
Attention.
Jesus.
Attention. Have you recently questioned your safety? These are chaotic times.
I didn't even realize how little time we had there.
What can you do to...
Well, I've said to John, our breaks are now over 6 minutes. And I've said, if these spots are all paid for, I'm okay with this. But because they've added the coronavirus update on top, and then they do a promo, and then they're doing the normal spot break.
But and I even noticed there's a couple I'm hearing a lot of national spots.
Yeah, well, and here's my question. Are they paid for?
Yeah, because if
these
not,
are big breaks.
Right.
Big breaks. But you got to remember, you know, 92.5's used to, they've got Mongo commercial breaks, and they're used to, so it's not bothersome to them in traffic to have breaks this long. It's bothersome to you and I.
It just changes the concept of, I mean, you really almost have to go to break closer to 42 to have a segment at the end. Because I didn't think we were that late there. 45, I'm like, that's all right.
Yeah, but we ended up breaking at 47. And so if you added 6 minutes, we come back at 53 and change. We got 4 minutes. So that's why we're, this for both of us, we got to break at 45.
Yeah, no later.
If we're doing 6-minute breaks.
Hi, this is Dr. Scheibel from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spatafor, and I want to remind everybody, don't be a spreader. The coronavirus is so tiny, 100 million particles fit on the head of a pin. As we run around in our trucks and cars and play golf and go fishing and go to work and do the things we like to do, we are spreading the virus. The virus can only move with us. Over 65, diabetes, COPD, all these folks will be hurt severely by this virus.
So is that Andre the Giant?
WFSX AM from Naples to Cape Coral and all of Southwest Florida. 94.1
What?
Fox Sports
The
Radio.
bobblehead. Who is that?
Georgie Animal Steel. That's what I've said.
Oh, okay, I didn't.
C4MH.com.
What do you got here?
There's only one way to wake up in the morning. How the heck are you? Yep, that's it. Miller.
Do you know you can clean your own car?
And Moulton.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. The things we're going to learn.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Oh, I like it's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it. Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
As we approach a couple minutes past 8 o'clock, a top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? This is the first day of April, or as we've been joking all morning, April declined its option this year, and therefore it is March 32nd. Here on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Streaming this and every show on the station at foxsportsfm.com. That's where you can find our binge TV watching brackets, brought to you by Brooks Gourmet Burgers, Jimmy Peace Chard, France Eye Care, and Kobe Cooling. All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham Law Firm hotline, as Seth Everett will at the bottom of this hour. If you ever miss any part of the show, we podcast every show. We break every hour into its own Connecticut cast. Connecticut, the best damn water that we have ever had. No racing out to the stores, having to buy jug after jug after jug. You don't have to worry, I should say, no matter how long you are stuck inside. Connecticut paying dividends for Mark and I. Make sure that it pays dividends for you in the near future. Connecticut, the best damn water that we have ever had. Our dominant topic today is the noise that is coming out of South Florida, and no, not about the coronavirus, but about the Dolphins and whether or not they want to trade all the way up to number 1 to get their hands on Joe Burrow. And do you think they should, and do you think they should pay the price?
That's really what this boils down to for us today, is do you think that they should? And early on, most every Dolphin fan that has tweeted and texted the show is not for this trade. And I thought David said something really appropriate early on, in which he said, I think most people believe that when you make a trade, the player you're trading for is going to be a bust. And that is not the line. David, no one, least that I've ever heard, no one's said it either that simply or in that way. But I think that arguably, and you say some pretty smart things, David, it's one of the smarter things you've said on this show, because that, at least to me, because that punched me right between the eyes when you said that. Everybody looks at these trades, much like Tunsil and the 2-1s and the 2. Well, that was a bad trade for Houston. It's only a good trade for Miami if they're smart with the picks, and that's what you and I talked about when it happened. They've got to go get in left tackle. They've got to replace one with that. That's the start. But with this Burrow thing, the first instance that I think people think of, David, is, well, if they miss on the quarterback, then we've lost all these picks. And as you've stated, that cannot be the mentality.
Well, and it's not the mentality of the people that are ever making the trade, but you can understand why certain fan bases will think that way. Because, well, they've been losing. So therefore, you think your franchise is going to get it wrong. Now, if you're a Steelers fan, if you're a Patriots fan, if you're a Packers fan, your organization makes a move, you instantly think, oh, this is a good deal. Why? Well, my organization makes good deals. They do far more smart things than dumb things. They make less mistakes than most other organizations. That's why it is who we are. Back in the day, it was the Dolphins. It was the Raiders. It was the Niners in the 80s. And when organizations like that made deals, you went, oh, wow. And Mark, you see it also in the first instinct from the national media. I mean, think about it. When good organizations make deals, when Andy Reid does something in Philadelphia or Kansas City, what is the first instinct from the national media? To talk about how smart it is. Meanwhile, other organizations, Mark, the Dolphins' dumping of the players that they've dumped for in the last year. It's dumb. Why? In part because it's the Dolphins doing it. Therefore, this must not be a smart move. They haven't done a lot of smart things lately.
Well, David, it's not too tough to say why. Let me just go back through the Dolphins' draft pick since 2011. Mike Pouncey gave him a good run. He's gone. Ryan Tannehill, often injured. When he was good, but never did anything. And I'm not knocking him. I'm just telling you, it didn't work.
I will say this. He started every game for over 5 years. Okay, the thing was, they were not good. And the first time they get good, he's their starter and he gets hurt like week 12. And then he doesn't have surgery on the knee, so he blows it out and he misses the whole next year. It was really the only injury he ever had.
But it didn't work.
And yet people think of him as off-injured, but ultimately it didn't work for them.
Okay, yeah, right. I'll take off-injured out. Mike Pouncey worked. He started a lot of games and was a good center for them for a long time. I cannot deny that Pouncey wasn't a valuable draft pick, but Ryan Tannehill was not. It didn't work. No matter how you slice it, it didn't work. Deion Jordan, bust. Jawan James,
bust.
Devontae,
disappointment, put it that way.
Definitely a disappointment, but he's not on the team. He's gone.
He's with Denver, and he's a bust there.
Devontae Parker has been largely a bust. You re-signed him on the cheap, but he has not been what you needed out of him at all.
Up until last year, he was a bust.
Tunsil, gone. And then Minka, gone. You've got Harris that's still there.
Who's terrible, by the way.
Right. And Wilkins, who looks like he's a really good player.
Yeah. But Charles Harris out of Missouri, the defensive end, looks like a complete whiff.
Okay, so this is why. This is the justification. Even though it's been different regimes through this, I just gave you all of their draft picks of the 2010s. You've got three guys still playing for the team. One can't play.
Well, also, let's go through all those picks. Pouncey's with a different organization. Tannehill's with a different organization. James is with a different organization. Minka Fitzpatrick's with a different organization.
Tunsil, different organization.
Deion Jordan's out of football. Charles Harris is trying really hard to be out of football.
Right. So that's
who's
why.
Left? Devontae Parker, right?
Devontae Parker and Wilkins.
Yeah, well, he was only last year.
Right. You can't. I mean, they can't trade him just yet.
So of the first-round picks since 2011, two are with the team. One's from last year. Well, three are with the team.
Three are for the
One's
team.
A bust. One was last year, and the other guy was a bust until year 5. And now he looks like he may make it and be pretty good.
Yeah, and
finally.
And fortunately for Miami, he was so bad that they extended him on the cheap.
Right.
I mean, there's no other way to slice that.
And hey, listen, they haven't won. All right? They haven't won a playoff game since Bill Clinton was president. I get it. I understand your natural inclination is, wow, this sounds great in theory. This ain't going to work. Because my team hasn't done a lot of smart things.
Right, and I'd rather have 3 picks, hoping to God we can get one of them right.
There you go. There you go.
I'm going to play the odds. Let's just stand pat and play the odds because I think we can get one good player out of this.
Hey, listen, I'm not kidding when I say this. If I were the Redskins, I would take a quarterback at 2. Because I have no idea if Dwayne Haskins is going to work. All right? But I bring another one in. I only got to be right once. And if I'm right, I'm fine.
It actually, in retrospect, I mean, they got crushed for taking Kirk Cousins in the 4th round. They got absolutely crushed. They take RG3 in the 1st round. They take Cousins in the 4th. And I think David and I, among everybody else, what the hell were they doing? I mean, everybody went, what the hell were they taking another quarterback for? It was actually the best draft pick they might have made that year.
I mean, Jimmy Johnson goes Aikman, and then later on they go Steve Walsh. Now, he said he did it because he knew he'd be able to trade him. He took him in, like the 4th round, and he knew he'd be able to trade him and get a lot more. But also, if you go all the way back with the Redskins, when they took Heath Schuler, I think it was 3rd overall, they take Gus Frerotte in the 7th round. He was the guy who ended up playing for him for most of that decade. I mean, listen, you only got to be right once.
And that's why you hear Pat talk about GMs who have philosophies that every year they take a quarterback somewhere.
If you're the Redskins, if you're Ron Rivera, when do you think you're going to be drafting in the top 2 again? Never. No, never. You're thinking you're going to have success. We're never going to be drafting in the top 2 again. Are you sure Dwayne Haskins is the answer? No one is sure Dwayne Haskins is the answer. Dwayne Haskins is not sure that Dwayne Haskins is the answer.
And the question is, a year ago, if Tua was available, who would you have taken, Haskins or Tua? No, I mean, but you have to put that on. When a team does it, they get all freaked. The fan base gets all freaked out. Didn't Carolina do that with Cam? Who did they draft the year before? Carolina did it.
Jimmy Clausen.
Right, they took Clausen.
In the 2nd round. Came back with Cam the next year. Why? They had the 1st overall pick.
Yeah.
They didn't know if Jimmy Clausen was the answer, and they're like, we're taking Cam Newton. Got our chance to get a franchise quarterback. We think he is. I'm taking him. Okay.
Boy, oh boy, David. I don't think they're going to. But come on. If Washington pulled that one off, how great would this draft be? I know, but how great would the draft be if all of a sudden we hear Washington takes Tua? I mean, the world would freak out.
Is my reasoning wrong?
No.
If you're Ron Rivera and I'm in the back of the room and I'm going, why are we not taking a quarterback? Are we sure Haskins is the answer? And let's just say he is. We'll be able to trade this guy. Yeah, we won't get 2nd overall pick value for him. We'll get a 1st rounder for him, though. We could probably get a 1 and a 4 at some point down the road. I mean, listen, 1st round quarterbacks, we've gone through this for a long time. 1st round quarterbacks are 50% hit or miss. 50%. Shouldn't you then give yourself the 50% odds? You only have to be right once. And if Haskins is offended because you drafted a quarterback, then he's not a franchise quarterback. He should be angry, beat him out, and look at the organization like, glad you wasted that pick. Now, could you trade him and get us an offensive tackle or something?
Yeah, because you wouldn't sign the one last year that would have really helped me out a little bit. He sat on the sidelines all year. We could have used one.
He's still on the sideline.
Right.
Still trying to get a deal, by the way. And all these teams have salary cap room, and they won't acquire a Trent Williams. I don't get it. I really don't.
Maybe Bill O'Brien can trade Laramie Tunsil for him.
Yeah, exactly. 479-5551. 479-5551 is the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. I totally get it if you want to hold on to the picks. You know, and I even get a Dolph fan who's like, listen, I don't want to give up anything to move up to 1, and I'm scared off by Tua's injuries. Hey, I understand. I totally get it. And let's face it, I believe it's going to hurt Tua coming to the Dolphins, this whole coronavirus. I mean, the Dolphins are not going to be able to give him a physical. They're not going to be able to work him out. They are not going to be able to put their hands on him. Seriously. And if you're the Dolphins, this is a big risk. This is a franchise-altering decision. If you're Chris Grier, okay, this, in theory, this is the only time you're going to be drafting a franchise quarterback. You've got to get it right. Are you sure about Tua? I mean, he's had 3 significant injuries in less than 24 months. Are you sure? So I get it. I would take him.
479-5551. 479-5551. And I don't even care if you're a Bengal or Dolphin fan right now. I'm curious because a lot of you are diehard NFL fans. What would you do? We'll take a call if we got a little bit, but we'll certainly take your text. Seth Everett coming up in about 15 minutes. It is the hardest decision a team has to make, and back to David's point, Washington may hold more cards in this draft than we're giving them credit for, because we've heard nothing out of the Washington camp. And Ron Rivera may not, you have to believe he was brought in to work with Haskins.
Yes. And especially since, by all accounts, Snyder, the owner, was the one that said, we are taking Dwayne Haskins, period, end of sentence. Jay Gruden didn't want him. The owner wanted him. He's from the area. Also, I believe Chase Young is from nearby. So, it'd be back-to-back years. And the Redskins have a ticket problem. They also have the biggest stadium outside of Jarrah. They have the biggest stadium in terms of permanent seating. Jarrah's place holds more people because he can have over 10,000 standing room only. All right, but they've got a big stadium. Also, he wants a new stadium. It's another one of those that wants a new stadium.
And I only think Washington would be foolish to take a quarterback from the standpoint of the Chase Young factor, because it is an elite position that people think this guy's a flat-out stud. I mean, he is consensus the number 1 pick from a talent standpoint in this draft. And there are certain positions you have to have. An edge rusher may be number 2 after the quarterback position. So I go get the edge rusher and pray that Haskins is my guy.
And then you get, listen, if the owner had not given the GM and the coach an ultimatum in Detroit, if these guys, Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia, were just business as usual, would you take a quarterback at 3 and get ready to move on from Matthew Stafford after 2020? You'd create a lot of salary cap room, a lot of salary cap room if you moved on. Many a team has had a pretty good quarterback and drafted a guy and, thank you very much. If you're the Lions, couldn't you make the case take Tua?
Yeah, David, I actually,
sit for a year.
I actually think the Lions should.
He'll sit for a year. Stafford will play, and then you'll see moving forward. You want to stick with 32-year-old Matthew Stafford next year, or do you want to hand it over to Tua, who's making about $4 million a year, and create about $25 million in cap room? You can get a few players for that. And you could trade Stafford and get picks. What wouldn't you get for Matthew Stafford, by the way, out on the open market? But they're in a win now or you guys are fired mode. So will they do something like that? Probably not. I will say this, though. If I am the Dolphins, I have tanked for Tua or whoever. You got to come out of this draft with a quarterback, right? Are you willing to roll the dice and try to get Love in the middle of the first round or late in the first round, or fall back to Eason with your early second-round pick? I mean, are you willing to play that much poker with this draft if you're not willing to pay some price? Because to me, if you want to get Tua, you have to move to 3.
Could not agree with you more. And I think that Dolphins have to make some kind of move, David. Because I think you're right. If the Dolphins sit at 5 and somehow, some way, the Chargers sneak past them and get to 4 to grab Herbert,
right.
and they're at 5 and they're stuck with the corner from Ohio State being the best guy on the board, they're screwed. Their fan base may damn near revolt.
Because, people are only talking about the Chargers moving up. What's to prevent Carolina at 7 from moving ahead of the Dolphins? I mean, you don't think Marty Herney could call Dave Gettleman and move up to 4 and make a deal? I mean, we've talked about this. One of these players is going to be available at 7. Either the best offensive tackle, the best defensive tackle, the best linebacker, or the best corner. One of those players is going to be available at 7. So one of those teams, Detroit or the Giants, could, if Carolina, new regime, do you really think they're married to Teddy Bridgewater? Look at the contract closely. It's 1 year, and then it's not that big a hit on their cap. They could go draft a quarterback and move up. I mean, so that's why, to me, you're the Dolphins. You got rid of all these players. You acquired all these draft picks. Well, then you got to come out of this with a franchise quarterback. And if the price is a little steeper than what you wanted, you know what? Life's hard sometimes.
I don't think they can go that far, but Jacksonville's at 9. I mean, David, you are so right. The Chargers are at 6, Carolina is at 7, and Jacksonville's at 9. They all need a quarterback. I know Jacksonville has Minshew, but they're not certain.
No.
You have 3 teams out of the next 4 picks behind you that could all seriously be after a quarterback. I do not know how the Miami Dolphins can stand pat and take that kind of a chance.
Well, and also, we've seen it before, Mark. 3 years ago, the Chiefs moved all the way up to get Mahomes. They gave up a future first-round pick. You don't know if somebody's sitting in the low double digits who's willing to give up. I mean, remember, Mark, Tua was considered, before he got hurt, he was considered the number 1 pick of this draft, without question. He was considered a generational quarterback. There could be somebody drafting at 12 who's like, wait a minute, you mean to tell me all I have to do is give up next year's first-round pick and I can get Tua? Done. I'd make that deal yesterday.
The Las Vegas Raiders.
Huh?
Lots of first-round picks going to a new stadium. I mean, they wanted Tom, too. That's the only team in the teens. The Jets are at 11. The Niners are at 13. The Bucs are at 14. The Broncos are at 15. I don't think they're drafting a quarterback. Falcons are at 16. Cowboys are at 17. Dolphins, we already know, want a quarterback. They're 18. Vegas is 19. And Jacksonville's 20 again. Vegas and Jacksonville, 2 other teams you have to pay attention to.
Miller and Moulton. Our poll question, trying to, be lighthearted about a serious situation, obviously. So what phrase that has emerged here in the last few weeks in dealing with the coronavirus that you have already grown most weary of?
New normal, social distancing, fluid situation.
I'm telling you, I like fluid situation.
I know you do.
It does. It sounds like a Kenny Mayne, Craig Kilborn, Larry Beal from SportsCenters back in the day in which they could turn this into a catchphrase. Stuart Scott could have turned fluid situation into a catchphrase.
It doesn't have the same ring as cool as the other side of the pillow.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, I've got to be honest. The first time I heard cool as the other side of the pillow, I went, That's the greatest thing. It's the truest words I've ever heard. That's awesome. I'm a pillow flipper. That hit me.
I am as well.
Seth Everett, I don't know if he flips pillows, but he flips jobs a lot. He has 47 and a couple of podcasts. We'll talk to him from New Jersey in his hazmat suit next on Miller and Moulton, Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com, and be sure to subscribe to either our YouTube or Twitch channels.
Ever purchased an online item and either it doesn't fit, has missing parts, or became damaged? Trying to save a few bucks can end up costing more. My Shower Door is a locally owned and operated family business that measures, manufactures, and installs our own brand of frameless shower doors right here in Southwest Florida. And we were just named Lee County's Manufacturer of the Year. With almost 80,000 shower doors installed, we have the experience and expertise. Plus, estimates are always free. Want to see more? Go to myshowerdoor.com.
We're on the phone with our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples. TJ, we hear you've added several new colors of Core-Tec to your great lineup of products at the store. Tell us more about that.
We just ordered 5 new colors of Core-Tec for our stock. All nice, light, beautiful colors for Southwest Florida. That'll bring our total of 55 colors of Core-Tec in stock every day for purchase and take home.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tec that you have. You also have other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Core-Tec wood, look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
You own a home with a tile or shingle roof? You live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island? Hello, I'm Jimmy Williamson with Williamson Brothers Roofing. If you answered yes to either question, it's very likely your roof suffered damage from Hurricane Irma that's not visible from the ground, and you may very well be entitled to a new roof for little or no money out of pocket. But you only have a 3-year window to make a claim, and time is running out. If you have a tile or shingle roof and live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island, call us at 239-283-2013. It's a free, no-obligation inspection that can benefit you in the form of a new roof. Williamson Brothers Roofing, we deal with the insurance carrier for you. Call us at 239-283-2013. Again, time is running out. Call us at 239-283-2013. Williamson Brothers Roofing specializes in the claims process. We have experts standing by. We get claims approved. 239-283-2013.
Like Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio on Facebook. Facebook.com/Fox Sports SWFL.
Welcome to Jimmy P's Chard. As you enter through the front doors, you'll know that you've arrived in the finest steak and chop house in Southwest Florida. All cuts expertly cut at their very own butcher shop. A true butcher block to table experience. 3 generations of mastering Wagyu beef, heritage Berkshire pork, poultry, lamb, and veal. The mood of Chard's nostalgic dining area is upbeat, high energy, and casual sophistication. A friendly and relaxed place, not fancy or stuffy. Chard's staff works hard to make you feel at home. Come in and unwind. Enjoy an exquisite glass of wine or perhaps a handcrafted beer with your perfectly charred steak. Afternoon or evening, it's going to be a wonderful experience at Chard. Jimmy P's Chard on South US 41 in Bonita Springs. Jimmy P's Butcher Shop on Old US 41 in Bonita Springs. Online at jimmypschard.com. Welcome to Jimmy P's Chard. Stop in today and tell them Jimmy sent you.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here.
Yeah, but Trenton, it doesn't matter if Tua isn't sure. It doesn't matter. He's going to go wherever he's drafted the same way Burrow is. That has nothing to do with the equation.
Is on our website. We're a family.
I get what you're saying, but it really has nothing to do with it.
Business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Some nice chair screaming there from Mark Miller for those of you not watching on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch channels. Thanks so much for being with us. We head for home on this Wednesday. I know the calendar says April 1st. Mark and I really believe April declined its option this year, and it is March 32nd. Since things went to you-know-what in a handbasket during March, April has said, it's all yours. You can just do this. And with that in mind, that means that the NFL Draft takes place on March 54th through March 56th, coming up 3 weeks from tomorrow. Speaking of 3 weeks, it was 3 weeks ago tonight that the NBA suspended their season, and we all know what has followed. 479-5551 is our Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 479-5551, if you care to chime in on what it is we're talking about, including, Mark. So how much are people missing
Have your
baseball?
caller.
Me, not at all. I would think you are.
Yes.
I think this hits you.
Well, and there have been a couple of games that have been reshown, and granted, it involves the team that I grew up rooting for. But they played Mets-Astros Game 6 of the 86 LCS the other day.
Saw that.
And for those, I'm wondering if a whole generation of people got to hear Keith Jackson call baseball. I mean, it was Keith Jackson, Tim McCarver who did that series. I mean, so that I'm hoping for those that stumbled upon that was a treat in and of itself. Keith Jackson doing a little baseball. Last night, ESPN re-aired the first game in New York after the attacks on September 11th. Piazza's dramatic homer in the 8th inning to beat the Braves 3-2. And so, just wondering, the season would have been about a week old now. Wondering how many people are missing it.
A couple other things. First off, the takeout shout-out. Coming up at the end of the show, if you're a restaurant, you're doing takeout, and you have family specials, let us know. 479-5551. We do that at the end of every program today. And be sure to vote on our poll question. What new phrase has you bothered the most, as we bring in our guest, Seth Everett, and we'll start Seth out, our baseball insider, hosts Sports with Friends and the Hall of Justice podcast on the Goldberg Noon and Abraham hotline. Seth, good morning. Social distancing, new normal, or fluid situation? Which phrase has you most annoyed in the COVID-19 era that we're in?
That's pretty good. No, the phrase that makes me angry is my pillow.
Oh, you're a beauty. You really are.
My pillow, that guy, I'd love to punch that guy with a glove on my hand and punch him right in the nose.
As long as you took the glove off before you touched your face, Seth, that's all that really matters right now.
I tweet. I stay so far away from politics on Twitter. I try. Anytime I tweet anything remotely political, I lose 30 followers. And it happens every time. And so I try. And when that guy came on that speech, started saying that while we're in all in isolation to find the Bible, all I wanted to write was, am I allowed to find a Torah? That's all I wanted to say.
You have the first 5 books.
That guy ticked me off.
No kidding.
It's why we bring them on, Sports with Friends and Hall of Justice podcast. I ask you, by the way, lighthearted question. You were on hold when I threw it out there. How much are you missing baseball, if at all?
Well, but I heard your question, and there's two things that are completely different. I think you asked two questions. Do I miss baseball? I miss baseball. I miss sports. I miss the NCAA tournament. I miss the hockey playoffs. I miss all of it. What I haven't done, and I haven't watched it for 1 second, and it's mostly because I don't have cable, is I haven't watched any of these classic games. I haven't watched any of these old broadcasts. I haven't, I see on Twitter, oh, check it out, 2003, Syracuse is going to win the national championship, Carmelo Anthony. And I'm like, I know what that looks like. I've seen that before. And that hasn't done anything for me. The classic games, and, I think it's part of the cable TV versus cord cutter, because the cord cutter gets to a television, and I watch what I want. I physically have to select something, whereas the cable TV person who's stuck at home for days now is flipping channels. And I remember those days because I used to do that when I was growing up. But I don't do that anymore. I don't flip channels. And first of all, and I said this to a buddy of mine, I'll name drop because I have there's a cool story about what's going on at NFL Network. And I was talking to my buddy Andrew Siciliano yesterday, and we were talking about how the leagues do not make their networks available on their apps.
Correct.
And it's something that goes on during the sports season, and it makes no sense to me. And especially now, when there's no games, how is the NFL app not streaming live, the NFL Network? MLB Network's the same thing, NHL Network's the same thing, and NBA TV. And I know the answer. The answer is because they make deals with cable companies for carriage. But give me a break. And so if I see MLB tweet that they have a classic Mets-Astros game from 1986, and I was home from school that day because I was sick, and I saw that whole game live, and I remember all of that, I couldn't watch it. I have no access to that game. And I pay for MLB.TV. So it makes no sense. These leagues make no sense.
No, Seth, you know what's funny that you bring that up because last night the wife and I watched the first Tiger King and then she went to bed and I'm flipping channels.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, it's riveting. I don't care what you say. So, but regardless, I'm flipping channels and hitting this and that. And I started thinking about the difference between me and my son and just what you said. It's like he goes to the TV with what I want to watch. I go to the TV with what's on. And I'm wondering... And I asked this because I know we talked baseball with you, but the deal was just done for the extra playoff game in the NFL. And CBS has partnered with Nickelodeon, which I find fascinating because they're trying to get to a demo, the only demo that the NFL really doesn't have a lot of grasp in, that everybody's trying to figure out how to get to. And my question to you is this, Seth, will it work at all? Because does that group, that 12 to 17-year-old or 10 to 16-year-old, whatever it is they're trying to get on Nickelodeon, are they actually watching Nickelodeon to find that, or do they do it on an all-on-demand type thing, and will this work?
Yeah, that was the argument that we had right around Christmas when the NBA ratings were down 23%, and I did the podcast with the Columbia professor who studies digital media, and said that even though the NBA popularity is skyrocketing, and I'll show you the parallel to what you're saying, the NBA popularity is skyrocketing. Their ratings this season were down 23%. And how do you account for that? And it's because people are watching highlights. They're watching Instagram highlights. They're watching Snapchat highlights. They're watching apps, Twitter. Everything has highlights, and you're not watching the live game. And that is a mentality. My children don't know what's on TV. I bet you I could ask my kids, and they're not dumb. I bet you I could ask them, what are the networks? And they would have no idea. They don't know what CBS is. They don't know what NBC is. They couldn't tell you.
Do they know what Disney
they're 11
is?
and 8. What?
Do they know what the Disney network is?
No.
Disney Plus?
No. They know what Disney Plus is. They know what Netflix is. They know what YouTube is. They know how to find their things. My bigger one, she's watching the CW version, not the 1980s Joan Collins version of Dynasty. And she and a bunch of her friends have arranged it so they're watching it together. So they go on one device where they FaceTime each other, and they go on the other device and they stream it on whatever service it's on, and and that's their social connection. And I love what they've done. I love the fact that every night my 11-year-old is on a device with 6 friends. She has done more socializing and talking than I've ever seen before when they went to school. And it's just a different mentality. So I don't know. I like the idea of the NFL partnering with Nickelodeon. It's not like the NFL said we're only putting a game on Nickelodeon and it won't be on CBS.
Right.
What they're saying is it'll also be on Nickelodeon and there'll be all kinds of shoulder programming. And that's really brilliant because what I think is smart is I want to expose younger kids. So it's not 12-year-olds. It's probably 8-year-olds who do watch Nickelodeon and let them find out who's a cool guy. Let them find out that Patrick Mahomes is a really cool guy, because I believe in sports that if you root for a person, and I've told you years ago the LeBron James Teen Titans story, where he was on Twitter and he just wanted to be on Teen Titans Go, and the guys wrote him into the show, and now he's on the show, and my kid's favorite basketball player is LeBron James, and they've never seen a game he's played. So that is a wonderful thing, because that can really help the players become connected to the young kids.
I hesitate to bring this up because, well, it usually leads to you going down a certain road. But we have a segment on the show called Today Was the Day When. And Mark highlighted that today was the day that Lou Piniella was first traded. All right. So I knew that was going to happen.
You know, I used to play in New York. And, Thurman was a good player. And Catfish, Willie Randolph played the infield. We didn't play the infield. Lou Piniella. My favorite. I just saw him. We just had him on the podcast.
I was going to wait for the end of the interview for that one, David. I was going to wait till the end, but Seth, a couple of things that you've done.
You want a good Lou Piniella? I'll give you a quick.
No.
Not until the end.
That's my bad. My bad. I brought it up.
Jeff Fassero threw 6 innings in the Kingdome. They go to the bullpen. They light it up. Bobby Ayala can't throw a strike. Why'd you take Fassero after 6 innings? Well, me and Stan Williams got in a mean game of rock, paper, scissors. And his paper covered my rock. Next question.
Oh, would that be great now? Would that be great now?
That's a true one. That really happened. The other ones I made up, but that's a true one.
All right, so Seth, Friday night, the NBA, I think it's going to be on ESPN, their 2K game with the players.
Yep.
The NASCAR has already had a lot of success. My son and I were talking about how much these more inexpensive things cost. And I'm like, they're only $300. You mean I could have one of these in my living room? And I'm damn near ready to buy one. Baseball. Seth, it is baseball season. There are a lot of young baseball players. MLB The Show is a pretty good video game by all accounts. Where is MLB on this? Because they need what you said about LeBron in that show. To me, the NBA, the PGA, Major League Baseball, they better get their you-know-what together, because these video games, to me, that's the way to get into the market you're talking about, and to do it right now during this when everyone's home.
Well, it's so funny because I have, you guys are on Twitch, and I introduced you to the same guys that I'm talking to because they want me to ramp up my Twitch channel and do all these things. And, the one thing about all of that is there's already 2 million people doing that every day. And now it's just to show the masses, and it's just show us old fogies what's already going on. NBA 2K plays dozens of games every day, if not hundreds of games. It's just we don't know about it because we're older and we don't connect to that. The fact that these young players play this game, I mean, I just think it's a continuation of something that's been going on. I've told the story hundreds of times. In 1997, I was the beat reporter for the Denver Broncos. That is the team that beat the Packers in Super Bowl 32. I didn't travel with them, but I went to every practice, and I went to every home game, and I went to every playoff game. And me and about 7 of the players, 2 media members, and I think 1 of the equipment guys were in a Madden football league. I was 23 years old, and we had dial-up internet. But Alfred Williams and Tyrone Braxton and all those guys on that team, we were in a Madden football league, and we had to cancel our playoffs because the Broncos were actually in the playoffs. And I remember that. And it's been going on forever. These players today are always playing video games. So if they are willing, and you can get these players to do this on a television show or on an internet show or some kind of streaming service, do it. Because they've been playing forever. There is not a baseball team out there that doesn't have at least 10 guys that are playing that game.
Oh, we used to bring them on the road. We'd bring PS3s on the road when I was still with the Everblades hockey team. It was not unusual to travel with a video game system. It was very common.
I know, and old players like Goose Gossage hates that stuff, but he's an old fuddy-duddy.
Well, Al Leiter, who works for MLB Network, And he
Yes.
came out yesterday and said, we're talking about trying to appeal to, younger people here and maybe, simulated stuff and all that. But Al Leiter said, listen, if he were involved in Major League Baseball, he would get real creative this year. He might just view the 2020 season as, you know what, let's just throw some things out there and let's see what sticks and get real creative this year with the season, not simulated stuff, not fake
I know what
stuff,
you're saying.
with the season, all right? And what do you think they could do? Because right now they don't know when they're going to start.
Right, that's the problem. You don't know how much time you have, and all the rhetoric that was coming out of the league that they said, if they have to, they'll push to October and November and December. No, they're not. The Colorado Rockies are in this stupid sport. Come on, you're not doing that. And the other thing that you have to recognize, and it's I get asked this. I don't know about you guys. I get asked this 6 times a day. Someone will tweet me and say, when do you think sports is coming back? Or I'll get when do you think baseball's coming back? And I have a simple answer to all of this. Have you guys seen Central Park? If you look at Central Park right now, they have taken, and it's 2 feet from a playground that I put my kids on the swings on. There's a makeshift tent that's turned into a hospital. The U.S. Tennis Center, the Arthur Ashe Stadium, is now a makeshift hospital, and the Javits Center, where New York Comic-Con is, that's a hospital as well. All you have to do is look at Central Park, and if you think there's a chance they're opening Yankee Stadium or Citi Field while that's going on in Central Park, you're dreaming. And so, and then Toronto came out yesterday and said their social distancing stay-at-home recommendation is going to stay through June 30th. And the Blue Jays play in Toronto. So this is not happening. I'm sorry, it's not close. And that's the thing that's really disturbing, because you can try anything. But I don't think there's a season. Right now, I don't think so. Last week I was on your show, I said the All-Star break. Right now, I need to see some distinct changes before I'll go there. And the NFL, we had this conversation last week, they're pushed back their schedule announcement to May. Push it back again. Just push it back, because I want to know. And right now, what I'm bracing for this week, probably between now and the next time I speak to you guys, is refunds on camp, because I don't think my kids can go to camp. Because my kids go to sleepaway camp, and if you think about the coronavirus and everything that's going on, you're going to put 300 kids in one mess hall?
No.
Oh, that's
you can't do it.
That was David's point yesterday about college football. I mean, David said it best. If the kids are in school, we're playing college football. If they're not in school, we're not playing college
Except
football.
For Liberty. Except for
Well,
Liberty.
Right.
Proud member of the A-Sun. That's the school, FGCU, our school here. They're in that conference. Don't even get me started, Seth. It'll be how you started this thing.
Seth, we're very.
Can I tell you my Liberty story? This is before the coronavirus.
Seth, we do not have time, and I'm not.
No.
Seth,
they made a deal with ESPN Plus that you pay for, and they put commercials on their broadcast. They robbed you twice. Continue.
Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice. They are the podcast. Unfortunately, Seth, we don't have time to promote what is on them. All right.
Jared Diamond from the Wall Street Journal. He has a great new baseball book.
He doesn't care what you say.
No,
he doesn't.
I don't care.
He is not.
Here's what you do if you want to keep it going.
I know the good, the bad, and the ugly's coming.
No, it's the good, the better, and the best. We've changed that during the coronavirus because we are trying to be more positive, as I am with you. Seth, I very much look forward to talking to you next week, but this time we're out of time. Miller and Moulton, Fox Sports Radio.
This is a special coronavirus update from Wink News.
I'm Therese O'Shea with Wink News. More than 24 new cases of coronavirus in Southwest Florida overnight and 2 new deaths, both in Lee County. A 62-year-old woman who traveled to Ecuador and a 96-year-old woman with no recent travel history. There are now 390 cases across Southwest Florida's 6 counties. To accommodate more patients, Gulf Coast Medical Center is opening 250 more beds ahead of schedule. 140 Lee Health employees are in quarantine. 7 tested positive after being exposed at work. Walmart will screen its employees before they come into work. If their temperature is more than 100 degrees, they'll be asked to go home and call their doctor. The president says to prepare for a difficult next 2 weeks as cases surge. The White House now forecasting 100 to 240,000 Americans will die from the pandemic. The website to file for unemployment in Florida is down for maintenance. The Department of Economic Opportunity is working to get it back up and running, upgrading the system to handle the rush of applicants. For updates on coronavirus, trust Wink News, facts, not fear.
Why would someone take a chance on purchasing a frameless shower door from a big box store or an online discounter of an obscure brand, and then try and find a licensed, qualified installer to put it in, when you can deal directly with a local, family-owned business that consults, measures, manufactures, and installs their own award-winning brand of shower doors? My Shower Door is a family-owned and operated business and has the highest ratings on Angie's List and Home Advisor. Want to see more? Go to myshowerdor.com.
Even in my 80s, every dive is exciting and enjoyable. When I developed cataracts years ago, I couldn't see well underwater. You can have the best gear and know the best dive spots. If your eyes aren't the best, it's just not the same. And Dr. Scheibo knows that.
Knowing how much Jimbo cares about diving, it was a privilege to fix his vision.
It's great to know that we got eye doctors in our area that care just as much about me as I care about being in the water.
Hi, this is Dr. Scheibo from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spatafora, and I want to remind everybody, don't be a spreader. The coronavirus is so tiny, 100 million particles fit on the head of a pin. As we run around in our trucks and cars and play golf and go fishing and building work and do the things we like to do, we are spreading the virus. The virus can only move with us. Over 65, diabetes, COPD, all these folks will be hurt severely by this virus. Wash your hands. Be careful. Don't be a spreader.
Twitter. Follow Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio on Twitter. Yeah. Follow us at Fox Sports SWFL.
This election season, there's only one candidate with a spotless resume and impeccable service record.
Brooks Gourmet Burgers and Dogs is the obvious choice. Voted #2 in the nation by TripAdvisor, Brooks Gourmet Burgers and Dogs does it right. Owner Todd Brooks and his staff are committed to providing the best burger experience and superior customer service. With favorites like the Donut Burger, which is a handcrafted burger between 2 glazed donuts and topped with American cheese and bacon, Brooks Gourmet Burgers and Dogs are truly building the dream one burger at a time. 4 locations: downtown Naples, Vanderbilt Beach and 41, on the East Trail at 951 and 41, and their newest location in Logan Landings on Immokalee Road in North Naples. See why Brooks Gourmet Burgers and Dogs deserves your vote today. Online at brooksburgers.com. Brooks Gourmet Burgers and Dogs, building the dream one burger at a time.
I'm Todd Brooks and I approve this message.
At Naples Nissan, the answer is yes. Yes, we're open, and you can still get the original base MSRP for your trade-in. Yes, your new Nissan will come with a full tank of gas for the next year and our exclusive unlimited mile lifetime warranty. And yes, absolutely yes, our entire team is fully committed to doing everything we can to help keep our entire Southwest Florida community healthy and safe. If your trade-in is less than 8 years old with less than 80,000 miles on it, we'll still pay you what you paid for it so you can drive home in a brand new, disinfected Nissan today. That's right, folks. Every new Nissan that leaves our lot will be treated with our long-term antimicrobial sanitizer. It's like a flu shot for your car. Plus, a full tank of gas on us for the next year. To learn more about everything we're saying yes to, come see us on Pine Ridge Road or visit naplesnissan.com. Yes, offers are on select models with approved credit, and yes, they can be combined.
There will be parties again soon, and family gatherings. There'll be parades, and sporting events, and concerts. To help our communities when they come back together, respond to the 2020 census now. Spend a few minutes online today to impact the next 10 years of healthcare, infrastructure, and education. Respond online today to make America's tomorrow brighter. Shape your future. Start here at 2020census.gov. Paid for by U.S. Census Bureau.
Well, we've hit rock bottom.
Let me say something. Let me say something. in a glass case of emotion.
You know things are really bad when Waffle House is closed and Mark Miller has a positive attitude.
Let's pump the brakes there.
With that being said, here's our brand new bright and shiny segment. Mark Miller's The Good, The Better, and The Best. Man, I hope we get back to normal fast. This is weird.
You're live.
Well, I don't know if I can do this music all the time. This is something. Italy has been hit as badly as any country in the world, and one of their soccer teams is doing something pretty cool. A team in Rome has Roma Cares, where the Team Rome has delivered packages to every season ticket holder over the age of 75. The box includes pasta, biscuit, a bottle of beer, 10 face masks, 10 pairs of gloves, 5 bottles of sanitizer, and as well as that addition of the Daily Sports page. So, I'll go with that as a good.
That's a nice little gift.
That's a nice start. For the better, we go to Colorado. That's going to be the best. I was going to try to keep it local, but I think this is pretty cool. A lot of things going on. Many of you are like me. At some point during the day, you become a teacher for your son or daughter, and the Edison and Ford Winter Estates, although they're closed to the public, on Facebook has posted new virtual tours of both the Edison and Ford Winter Estates. So you can check that out on on the Facebook page for the Edison and Ford Winter Estates. They're doing a new video. Get a call there?
It's not mine.
Oh, I don't have a phone hooked up to this. That's why wow, phone just popped in my ear there. New every Friday and every Monday and Friday at 8 a.m. there will be a new post from the Edison and Ford Winter Estates. And finally, the best, we go to Colorado, where a Colorado woman's dog is helping her neighbors stay safe. Karen Eveloth sends her golden retriever Sundance over to the neighbor's house. It picks up her grocery list, brings it back to her, so then she can shop for her neighbor. This way she doesn't have to come close to her, and the dog actually delivers the bags of groceries as well to the neighbor's house.
Cool.
And that is the good, the better, and the best. On today, March the 32nd, this still is March, and this still is 2020. Time now for our takeout shout-out, David.
Hey, good morning. It's Dan with Firehouse Subs. All of our Lee County locations via takeout, online ordering, call ahead, or favorite delivery service.
Yeah, FK Your Diet, FKYourDiet.com. Phone number 239-245-8877. We actually have another location in Cape Coral as well, 239-360-8955. Best breakfast, best lunch you'll ever have.
Hi, this is Kelly from Luigi's of Naples. We've been in business 40 years. We're a small business. We are open Monday through Saturday from 11 to 8 p.m. Strictly takeout, 775-6669.
Takeout shout out. It's how we end every show these days. You could text in your shout out at 479-5551, 479-5551. If you want to leave a message, it's 479-5577. Leave it at any time.
1 minute.
479-5577. Just trying to help. Get the word out. People trying to make it through this.
No doubt, and if you're looking for something to make you laugh, yesterday Jack Black joined TikTok, and a lot of people have forwarded that TikTok on Twitter, and that 40 seconds of dancing will put a smile on your face. That's all I can say about that.
Cool. We could use it. That is for sure.
That's all we got.
Miller and Moulton, our poll question, trying to be a little lighthearted about the times that we are going through. What phrase is, bothering you the most? Social distancing, the new normal. And what's the third?
Fluid situation. You have trouble with that one because you like the phrase so much.
I do.
Social distancing
negative.
Out in the lead. Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton to vote. The Dan Patrick Show is next. Thanks for listening.
Dial *2020. Friends
sense I can.
Once again, Giro, nice job.
Yeah,
All
great
thank
job.
You guys have a good day.
Talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you. You too.
That their health and safety are.
So 12:30 today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shoot me a text just ahead of time because when I'm in school, I'm not really paying attention to time, if you know what I mean.
Right. And I'm assuming that you're taping it?
Yes.
Tape deal and sending it over and all that?
Yes.
Do you want to run this at like 7:30 tomorrow?
Depending on what John gets, 7 or 7:30, or do you want? I mean, 7:30 is great by me. Just sometimes he gets a 7:30. That was the only reason we do it at 7.
Okay. All right. Because I'm just thinking in terms of, what to say and that sort of deal. So I'll just keep it generic.
I mean, somewhere in the 7 o'clock hour. I text John and see what he thinks. I'm indifferent. I love 7:30 unless John thinks it's a lot easier slot for him to get an interview.
Right. See, we don't have any interviews lined up for tomorrow, so that would mean him getting essentially 3 guests. Because it's probably easier for him to book something in the 8 o'clock hour. That's why I was thinking Andrew at 7:30, but I'll reach out.